I'm Jonathan Goudeau, aka JG Smooth. I'm joined by my guest, former All-MIAA H-back Daunte McGee and D2 content creator Josh Wahls. Gentlemen, I appreciate you taking time out of your Labor Day afternoon to come on talk some UCO football. As we know, the season opener was this past Saturday. Permian Basin came away with a 34-14 win. I don't know who wants to go first in this, but I'm just gonna ask both of you what kind of are your initial thoughts about the game? Maybe what you saw and were you surprised by the outcome?
I'm the guest here. I'll defer to Mr. McGee.
All right. My first initial thoughts was going into it, I didn't know too much about Permian Basin. I do know they had recently won the Lone Star Conference, and there might be some people who say, the Lone Star isn't as strong or dominant as it once was. I somewhat disagree with that because I still feel as though they produce very quality, tough football teams. So just knowing that they had won the conference recently, I did not think that they were going to be an easy outing by in any kind of way. I did think, and just because I'm a UCO supporter, I did think that UCO was going to have more success offensively just given the history that we had from last year, and that's some that had been building. But yeah, just my first initial thoughts was I felt like Permian Basin's a pretty good quality team. I feel like they are pretty well coached. One of the bigger glaring issues I think with UCO was just kind of penalties and kind of hurting themselves. And Permian Basin really just didn't do that. And I think especially early on in the season, that is even more important to not necessarily play clean all the way when you're in your first game, but maybe to not have your mistakes be so costly or at a timely moment. And I think that that was one of the bigger things that UCO did to hurt themselves. And then all the props to Permian Basin. That's a sign of a good, great team is being able to capitalize on your opponent's mistakes or let them, create their own mistakes and just kind of keep on with your game plan. So I feel like Permian Basin's a pretty great team. I think that they should be one of the favorites to finish in the top of the Lone Star. I know Angelo State's one of the better teams as well too, but yeah, I feel like Permian Basin's a pretty good team.
I think for me, kind of coming into the game, I knew that our deep. Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay.
I think coming into the game for me, from UTPB, from our perspective, we had some question marks, and I knew that our defense was going to be really, really good. We had the number one ranked transfer portal class for the second or third year in a row. They went really heavy on the defensive side of the ball, and we have a bunch of guys that came in that I knew that were going to be playmakers on the defensive side. We had some questions on the offense, a totally revamped offensive line. We brought in Cannon Gibson, who was the quarterback at West Texas A&M last year. He was kind of in and out of the lineup as a starter. I think he started 12 games over 2 years. And everyone knows what Cannon can do when he's playing really well. But when he was at West Texas, he was sometimes a little impatient. He would kind of like force the ball into weird spots. But when he was on, he could be one of the best quarterbacks in Division Two. And so with a revamped offensive line, a brand new quarterback, you know, we weren't quite sure where everything was going to land. And but we knew that we were going to play tough defense. And so coming into the game, just from my perspective, um, I was hoping for a low scoring game. And I thought that if we could have a lower scoring game, that we would have a really good shot of pulling it out. But I didn't have a lot of ideas as far as what would happen. I know that you guys lost probably the best player in Division Two. Just he's not a quarterback, so he didn't get the award. You guys lost some other pieces as well. So I think you guys had some of the same questions, but we're a lot more established than UTPB was last year. So, uh, excuse me, Emma. So I had some expectations, and I thought that the game would be very, very close. And I knew that UTPB could win the game, but I felt like there had to be certain conditions, and we had to play up to our expectations, and I think that we were able to do that. And so,
And I think you brought up a good point about like we both had questions and both our defenses I feel like we're going to have to carry us because like you mentioned Permian Basin now they have a revamped offensive line, we have a revamped receiving core, so the fact that the first score didn't come until 3 minutes to go in the first quarter I don't think is too surprising, and I think that we saw for the majority of that first half it was a defensive stalemate. um um, so like I wasn't too surprised then. Now I was surprised at the level of which Premier Basin was able to stifle the pass game of UCO. I know we lost Terrell Davis, as you had alluded to. A lot of us obviously we're kind of biased over here, but feel like probably should have won the Harlan Hill. But we lost him. We also lost Jacob Delsell, Madison Ridgeway. So we had some turnover there, and we brought in new faces. But obviously, it still takes a while. But I'd be lying to you if I saw us throwing for under 170 yards. From the Permian Basin side, were you surprised by the level of play of the secondary, or was this something that you felt like could be the case entering this football game?
So the thing I was concerned about the most coming in, for being this is such a interesting thing. For being as short as he is, Huff has such good, like his ability to fit a ball in a tight spot's really good. His Usually if you get a guy that's as short as him, they can't throw the ball that hard, and they're out there, but they're pretty rare. And his ability when he really wants to sit into a throw and really fling it out there, I mean, he can throw it. And I watched a little bit last year of the Central Missouri game, and there was another game that I watched, but that was really the thing that jumped off the page. But I knew that we were going to predominantly play softer shells for most of the game because that's what we had done in previous years, and we'll mix in various cover ones and twos and things with man underneath. We did some zone blitzing. We even did some tackle drops, which was kind of interesting. I have that on film. We can go through. But it wasn't that I knew that we would be good in the past. I just We had so many question marks. I wasn't quite sure. 170 yards, maybe not, but I didn't think that Central Oklahoma would like go wild on us, or there would be like points in the game where like we just couldn't do anything at all. I felt like we could keep it under control, but I didn't. 170 yards is a pretty good performance, and yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that.
And for Dante now, because you obviously you played with various quarterbacks, so you kind of know what it's like to have to establish chemistry from a player's perspective. About like how long does it take to really establish that chemistry, that connection, knowing how your quarterbacks likes routes ran, things of that nature. Like because in 2022 the offense was new. You had played with Steph before, but like there was Peyton Thompson. How long in that regards, like does it normally take for a quarterback receiver to get on the same page?
Well, it's a combination of factors. Obviously, one is just spending time getting to know each other, getting routes in, not just what's required of you in practice, but also spending time in on your own, coming in, just getting that chemistry and things going on. And a lot of it is timing. And so that's the biggest thing when it comes to some of these routes is, yeah, you have plays called and you obviously want to throw you guys open, yes, but a lot of it is timing. And so if either your quarterback is ready to throw the ball, but the receiver hasn't broke yet or is getting jammed up, that messes up with the timing. Or if your receiver gets open too fast and either your quarterback is in a read or doesn't get to you, it's like obviously you're not going to get the ball. So that timing aspect, it is extremely crucial. I think one thing Permian Basin that was able to do was they were able to get UCO behind the sticks or the few couple runs we did break. But I feel like they were able to get UCO behind the sticks to force passing situations. And then I felt like their defensive line was able to get pretty solid pressure for the most part of the game and forcing Jet Hub out of the pocket. I think that Jet is someone that, when given time, and even shown in this game and all last year, if you give him time in the pocket, he is very pinpoint accurate with the ball, and he can get the ball to his receivers. I don't think that was something that necessarily happened too much during the game, but I do think that timing was one of the things, and then just playing behind the sticks, it is hard. I mean, if you're in these passing situations, and I get, it's a pass happy league and everyone wants to do it. Defenses are starting to get smarter now, and they're able to, key in on those things, especially when you have UCO, who was extremely explosive throwing the ball last year. I'm pretty sure that is something that Permian Basin was able to key in, and that was one of the main points of emphasis for the defense. And kind of like he was alluding to with the types of shells that they were running, forcing those passing situations to where you're not getting beat over the top, but also it's like, it's passing, so you're able to maybe drop some in coverage, or if it's longer passing distances, then that's when you come in with a zone blitz or something of that sort, just to kind of give the offense different looks and things like that. But as far as passing and timing, I mean, you can't talk enough about it, because everything from to how you run your hitches, your sail routes, the types of dig routes you run, even if it's just shallow routes, like everything is timing. And when it comes to your reads as a quarterback, depending on if you're going 1, 2, 3, or if you're looking at your safeties and then choosing where you're going, it's still timing, because even if you have pressure on you, you're not going to be able to get the ball off just like how you want to. So I feel like that was one thing Permian Basin was able to do, was throw off the timing of the routes with the receivers, but then also the timing with Jeff.
I have a question for you, Daunte. So
Yes.
when I did the rewatch and broke everything down and kind of went back through everything, something that really surprised me a lot was early in the game, UCO was doing quite a bit of drop eight. They'd mix in a zone blitz here and there, drop eight, zone blitz, drop eight. And then once it got to the second half, it was almost completely abandoned. And you guys started playing a lot of zero, like a lot of zero.
Mm-hmm.
And when we go through the film, it really confuses me because I don't know why. So do you have any insight into that?
So
I
from
mean,
my
we'll get into it into the
right,
film, but I just kind of wanted your initial.
So from my perspective, one of the things that made UCO's defenses in the past so good as they were is because they were able to shift from 3 down linemen to 4 down, like literally like seconds before the ball was snapped. And so that initial shift of going from 3 to 4 messes with the offensive line, because communication has to happen
Right.
forward. It changes who you're blocking, and even changes how you're blocking and pass sets, and also in the run game when you go from 3 down to 4 down linemen. Was something that UCO was able to do in the past, and obviously that affects like the types of coverages and things like that. I think, just my honest opinion, I think probably why they wanted to go to maybe a zero, or maybe even a cover one, was because in the first half, the quarterback from Permian Basin was able to escape the pocket and was doing a lot of damage with his legs. And so what I'm thinking is they probably went to more of that, to either have a spy, or maybe just to kind of ensure that, hey, if we're going to get beat, it's going to be over the top, or someone's going to have to make a miraculous play, which Permian Basin did make those, but then they also was able to capitalize on the penalties from pass interference on our defense. So I think that was maybe the adjustment, was to more so try to contain the quarterback. Again, I could be wrong. I'm not a coach. I'm not in those meetings, things like that. But that's just my initial opinion as to why they did that. And honestly, in my opinion, I feel like the defense, I mean, the score is going to say otherwise, but I feel like our defense played a pretty well game, given some of the short fields that they were given and some of the turnovers that the offense had. I felt like our defense forced, field goals whenever they could have been touchdowns. So it's like, even though 31 points is obviously too much, but I think defensive wise, it definitely could have been a lot worse than what happened.
Yeah, I agree.
It could have been a lot worse, or it could have been a lot better. It could, like, when I went back and looked, it could have been a lot worse, or it could have been way closer. Like it was like there were razor thin margins on some of these plays, and some of these sequences of plays where I was like, ooh, like there's a play in the fourth quarter that Jet misses. It's a walk-in touchdown, and it was a timing play, and he's 1, 2, 3 out. If he would, and he had great blocking. If he would have just looked to that other side, it's a walk-in touchdown. And so I agree with you that, it could have been worse, but I think it could have been a lot closer as well, despite all the different things that we saw. So sorry, Jonathan, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. I was gonna ask Dante because to Josh's point, this almost reminds me of Missouri Western in 2022. I know because that was the first game under Coach Doral for you, and I know we lost the game 35 to nothing, but I felt like there was ample chances in the football game. We had some deep passes that we didn't hit. I felt like there were drives where we just stalled out. I came away feeling the same from this game as I did that game. And I felt like the problems that we saw, maybe for both teams, really, I think is really fixable. And I feel like that's a good thing for both of us, is that, for UTPB, given this was your first game with the revamped line and the issues that you still had, you were able to win. And then from the UCO side, as tough offensively as it was, defensively, we're able to stay in games well past the majority of most teams. So I wanted to ask Dante, did you kind of get a similar vibe from this loss as you did from that Missouri Western loss, where like, yeah, the scoreboard might show it's kind of bad, but in actuality, there was chances to make it a different ball game?
Yes. So initially watching it, I'm not gonna lie. Like I told you, it was pretty rough. That was my initial thoughts. But after going back and looking things over, I'm hopeful and extremely optimistic. And I mean, obviously, we have a tough game coming up this week, but I'm extremely optimistic for this team and offense because if you look at two interceptions, you have four fumbles, all the penalties that we had, and we still had William Mason. He still rushed for over 100 yards. You had Jalen Cottrell, who was our All-American. He only had 50 yards on the day. So it's just like, and then also one thing that kind of hurt me a little bit more is we weren't able to convert on the fourth down with our fullback dives, which I mean that is Andrew Carney's bread and butter. He loves that play, and I know that that's something he gets juiced up for. It's just the times that he can get those 1 or 2 yards of just chaos, and we weren't able to convert that. So even though there were negatives within the game, a lot of those things are extremely correctable and can be fixed. And I think one of the things that makes me optimistic for UCO is that it's not a lack of talent whatsoever. I think we still have talent on the field, even with some of the departures from seniors and other players. There are still players that can go out there and make plays. And it showed that, when Jalen Cottrell sprung his long run and William Mason sprung his long run, it's like we still have some home run capability coming from our running backs. But when you get behind the sticks or the run game is kind of not working, and now you're forced into these pass situations. Now people are being keyed in more so than before, and so I'm still very optimistic for this offense. It's just you could just tell new people and new positions. One thing Coach Dora likes to do early on in the year is a lot of substitutions. I don't know if that was something that you maybe picked up on, but there's times where I'm looking, I'm like, where's Montreal Lee at? But that is one thing he does is because early in the year, I mean the heat, I mean it's people their lungs aren't as established as later on in the season, and then also cramping, and so it's like that's just one thing he does to keep people as fresh as possible, and I actually agree with that. But I'm still extremely hopeful for this offense because even the amount of people that did get playing time, it's all mental mistakes in my opinion.
And for Josh,
I
I
told
want to
Jonathan,
go ahead.
I'll jump in here and then you can ask. I told Jonathan Saturday night that I think that you guys will beat Pitt State for the first time in however long, because I watched that Pitt State Ferris State game. Um, Pitt State's defensive line, their roster says that they are a certain size, but they I can if you go watch Pitt State, Ferris State, watch Pittsburgh State's defensive line, I think that the Central Oklahoma offensive line is not going to have any kind of the same problems as they had against UTPB. I think the offensive line for Central Oklahoma will dominate the Pitt State front. So
Oh man, that's very
Just
good. Because I mean, we did still run for 200 yards, which I felt like, given the pass game struggles and the fact that we had that, the fact that our two touchdowns came essentially on long runs, because Will's long run is the one that set up his touchdown. And I think last year that was the problem against Pitt, is we were able to hold up pass blocking, but we could not run the football to save our lives. And so if we're able to run in that football game and we get an improved pass game, even if we get to 250, I do think we have our best chance to beat Pitt, I think, in quite some time, because defensively, I felt like we're there. And I felt like we were there last year. We just could not get the offense going because we were one dimensional, similar to how we were Saturday. And as you know, it's tough to win games being one dimensional.
I mean,
Uh,
that's the thing with Pitt State for years, is they are always built on their defensive line, and that's where the game starts. It's one in the trenches, your offensive line, your defensive line, and how well they can create pressures, how well they can handle fronts and all that's thrown at them. And I think that with the types of running backs that we have, if we're able to have success running the ball, and this is not just for Pitt State, this is just for the entire season. If we can have success running the ball with our two or three backs that we have again in the game, that is going to help out with the pass game and alleviate so much pressure on the pass game, because it's a lot easier and more manageable, obviously, when you're working with 3rd and 2 or even 3rd and 5 versus, oh, now it's even just 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9 makes the world's difference on the types of pass plays you're calling, and then how the protections, which way you're sliding to things, who you can keep in, who you can get out on the pass plays, because William Mason and even Jalen Cottrell, he's a former receiver, so it's like they can catch the ball out the backfield, and if they just make one guy miss, it's like that's easily a first down as well too. But you have to be in these favorable positions to be able to get those plays to work. When you're backed up as much as we were against Permian Basin, and again, credit to their defense uh, for keeping us working with a long stick all game. Like whenever you have to work against that, it is tough no matter who you're playing.
now, Josh. Now, I do want to ask before I forget, because your quarterback, he took a beating in that game, and there was one point, I think it was a timeout, and he's just puking up. I don't know if that's with fluids, like several times. I'm like, man, I don't know how this man is going to make it. Like, dude, is there a way they can better protect him early on until you all's line come around? Because like I'm genuinely concerned, like if he's having to do this week in and week out, he's not gonna last. I mean, it's just not.
So we had this gentleman named in 2023. His name's Kenny Hernser, and he was the quarterback. He was a Harlan Hill finalist, and he was from Wink, Texas, and he was a magician. I mean, the most elusive player, the guy who shows up in every big moment. Came back, multiple comeback wins for multiple. I mean, just like the prototype of what you want as a quarterback. And he tried to run over every single person that he ever possibly could. He's from Wink, Texas. Cannon Gibson, also from Wink, Texas, is the exact same way. The offensive coordinator of Cannon Gibson is Kenny Hernser. So, so you have the two Wink boys who have absolutely no regard for their physical safety, who are just going out and just being magicians. I'm telling you, if you watch Cannon Gibson and you just is this 23 or 25? You would get them confused, because they're the exact same player, they're the exact same size, from the exact same city in Texas, and it's just Kenny Hernser in 23 took the biggest beating of any quarterback I've ever seen, and didn't miss a single game. I thought he was really. I think he got. I think he was first team all conference that year for Lone Star. I can't remember. But yeah, I mean they just make those boys out in Wink, Texas a little bit different, and I don't know. It's like trying to rope the wind. I don't know that you can rein that in. It's like just like, okay, well, this is what we got. This is what we're doing. So here we are. But also to what you're saying, um, there's that part that I just mentioned, but Uh, the defensive end play from UCO was absolutely elite. Didn't really matter who was out there. Those tackles for UTPB are not bad. And you could see them in the run game. They were able to kind of get some push, and in pass sets just dealing with a few blow bys, which is a little concerning on my end. Um, I think part of it is new game. Part of it is also Cannon does leave the pocket a lot. So if you're trying to maintain a pocket, it's hard to know where I need to maintain and set my pocket. That's also part of it. I think it'll get better with time. We got some really talented tackles. It didn't always show on film, but I think it will improve it as time goes on. But I did want to share that little anecdote with you guys because it's just absolutely hilarious to me.
We'll see now. We'll see now. Dante played with the man named Stephon Brown, who didn't know the word slide. It was not in his definition. I don't care. There's actually a play, and I think Dante knows exactly what I'm going to say. We were playing Northeastern State in 2022, and Steph is scrambling, and Dante is trying to throw a block. Steph runs Dante over in the process of him trying to throw the block. I didn't even know that until Dante himself pointed it out. Now I feel like Dante, do you
How
want
do you
you?
rein that in?
What I'm saying,
Huh?
Dante. Now, do you want to expound on that experience as you were getting trucked while trying to block for the man?
Listen, um, you don't know, I'm 6'5", and when I played that season, I was 245. So I'm not a small person, but being an overly large person, I'm not around people that are just that much bigger than me. It's like, yeah, you might get some of your tackles that are taller or maybe bigger, but that's really it. And so Steph is 6'6", probably like 225, 230. Like he wasn't little, but could probably run maybe a 4.5, 4.6. And so not just them, but every year that we had Steph and it got close to the goal line, obviously like it's just a mesh. He would just Cam Newton Superman dive over the line. And I can't tell you how many times I'm blocking, and I just see a shadow like over me. I'm like, where'd the sun go? And oh, it's Steph landing on top of me for a touchdown. So I mean, that wasn't anything new, but I mean, it's definitely guess you call it emasculating at times. That man, my quarterback is literally just jumping on top. All right, I mean, I'll take the points, but I mean, that happened so many times, and he's like, I mean, he wouldn't even apologize for it. I'm like, I mean, at least say, hey, thanks for putting your body on the line for me. I mean, something I would appreciate that, but never got it. But but yeah, that was the thing with Steph. He was a very athletic and bigger body kind of guy. So when he would kind of try to run people over, it was a little bit different than say if like Jet Huff would try to run someone over, or even Keith Calhoun. It's like some people, if you got it in you and you find that little knack to be able to not take big hits and can actually deliver it, I'm all for it. I think, people want to label quarterbacks as being more passive or soft. Hey, nothing like getting the boys juiced up if you can run someone over, but also know your limits. Don't try to tilt the shoulder on a D end or a middle linebacker wearing a cowboy collar. Like that's bad for business. Don't do that. But if you got some corner that you know is strictly out there to cover, and it's you and him, hey, take one.
So I just looked up Kenny Hearns. They're 6 foot tall, 195. Cannon Gibson's about the same size, and so it's just there's something in the water and Wink. I don't know what it is. It's just it's like like trying to catch a Mustang. It's just like, okay, well, we're just gonna have to kind of live with it. Kenny was so durable though.
Mm.
He was all, I mean, he played through the most insane injuries that no one ever talked about, but he played every game. He played to a super high level every game, and he always had that in him. But yeah, it's just I wince a little bit every single time either one of them went out of the pocket because I'm just like, because like you said, the thing about the business decision, neither one of them business decision. What are you talking about? This is a
Right?
football game.
They don't know what the word
So
business decision. They don't know what slide means. I'll never forget Emporia 2022. Josh, I kid you not. Steph was stonewalled against like 3 or 4 defenders. He is still pushing his way. I think we do score a touchdown, but he's literally, you see a pile of jerseys, and then there's Steph just fighting. Helmet comes off everything. He gets the touchdown, and then I believe As he scores, he's trying to talk noise while getting pulled away. It was just fantastic. I'm like, see, is it always pretty? No. Okay. But is it really entertaining? Absolutely.
It's great football to watch. There's no doubt about it. It hurts your soul a little bit if you're a big fan of the team or you're friends with the guy, but oh, oh. But yeah, he threw up on the sideline and he threw up after a hit too on about the 50-yard line. And then the very next play he runs for like 12 yards or something. It's just like, okay, well, so
I was
Steph was the exact same way. I had never seen a quarterback throw up more than he did. Whether it was conditioning in the summer, just fall camp, like we'd be 4 or 5 weeks into like the season, and for some reason here he is just throwing up. I'm like, I know I'm not in as good shape as you are. It's like, are you really working that hard? And like he'll just throw up and it's like, all right, fine, we're good. I think it happened twice where in the middle of a play he's getting ready to like he's in his cadence, throws up, all right, and then claps and gets the ball. So I mean, he used to throw up all the time too, and it's like I'm someone I never did. I can't stand that feeling. I did not like it, but I mean, some people they just need to get it out of them, and they're good to go.
and then like the crazy part though is usually like after the game, it's like nothing happened. Like you talk to them and they just like it's another day in the office. I'm like, but you just took a beating
Mhm.
out there. Like you just willing to do post game and like life is good. I'm like, bro, I just watched you carry the ball 20 times and just get destroyed, but we're acting like that's just I know. Listen, I don't
it's
know. That separates the mortals from the non-mortals, I guess. I couldn't do it.
I mean, I have this. You can't really see it, but I got this UFC poster behind me. It's the same mentality that those people have, and certain people in football have it as well. It's just bless them. I'm here for the entertainment. I feel bad every time I see it, but it definitely makes it entertaining for sure.
Huh. Huh. Now you did mention that, about UCO's defensive front. Now we had turnover in that room from graduation. I asked the question to both of you. Did the play of the UCO's defensive line, did it surprise you all? Because to be honest, it kind of did surprise me. I was not expecting the level of play that we got out of that defensive front.
I'll defer to Dante first.
Okay. So I wouldn't say surprising is the right word. I think it's for me, that's kind of where I was looking at question marks from the defensive side because regardless of who you lose on the back end, if you can get pressure with your defensive line, it's like that's going to help out whoever you lose on the back end. And obviously, we lost some quality safety and guys who played a lot of time at UCO. But like I've mentioned earlier, is years before UCO was predominantly a three down front team, and the types of buys that we had, it's you have to be able to be strong enough to take on double teams. You got to be athletic enough and agile enough to be able to stunt, but then also cover multiple gaps. And so you're asking a lot out of the defensive line when you're in that three down front to do. But if you have those type of guys to do it, it alleviates so much pressure from everyone else. It actually creates a lot more space and kind of clear things up for your linebackers to go and make plays. And I think that's kind of one thing why, like he's obviously a great player in his own right, but Jack Puckett, why he's able to play so fast and get so many tackles is because the front was able to maintain those double teams and not get drove back into his lap to where he's able to fly down and make plays. When you're in this four down lineman front, you're getting a lot more one on ones. So I think that is kind of to be expected to get more tackles for loss or even just more sacks. And I think that we did. I think we got 3 or 4 sacks. So I mean that's good by the front. Um, I was very curious just to see how they would play just against new faces and things like that, just bringing in new people. Um, I I do like the four down front, especially if the defensive line can keep up this type of play for the year. I do think they do lose that unpredictability of being able to jump in a three down front or a four down front, literally at a moment's notice. But if you're sacrificing the element of surprise for consistent control of the line of scrimmage. I think that is a very big win, and I think that if they're able to, obviously with Permian Basin's quarterback, I don't know if they thought he wasn't going to scramble as much as he did, but he did. And so that's one thing to add too, is if you're going against, quarterbacks who are mobile and can hurt you with their legs, you can't just be on speed rush and just try to work the loop and go around every time. It's like you're going to have to run through and work some power moves at times against them. And I think that if they're able to do that, control the line of scrimmage, but then not let quarterbacks escape the pocket, but still condense and produce pressure, that defensive line might do a lot of damage in the MIAA, because that's one of the things that with that conference is your D line. I don't care. That's probably the most important position group within the MIAA is how effective is your D line. How much pressure can they get? Are they able to stop the run? Can they get some tackles for losses? Can they get tip passes? Because then you get some of the teams that are more pass savvy. But yes, I was very pleased with the defensive line. I feel like that was one of the shining parts of for UCO on Saturday.
I thought to answer your original question on if I was surprised. When you're playing the number 3 team in the country, you're never really surprised when you have a good position group. What surprised? I will say though, what surprised me, the defensive ends, and you guys were switching them out. Also, the stream was a little blurry. It was hard for me to get numbers. I was trying to kind of figure out who was who. You guys were switching them out so much, blurry stream. I'm not sure who exactly was who, but you had a couple of guys on each side who had this really nice power move where, so for example, if the left end was rushing, he'd get that hand up into the chest plate and then swim with the other one and just getting by almost every single time. And that kind of it's like a combo of a speed and a power rush. And it was just pushing our tackles in, and it was making our passing game a lot worse because Cannon was stepping up, and he was running 4 or 5 yards and taking a beating while doing it. But one of the things that makes our offense really, really good is that we have really good receivers, and we didn't get to see a lot of that. And the reason we didn't get to see a lot of that was because those defensive ends were doing like this kind of hybrid power speed rush, and it was really, really effective. And it's going to be one of the things that I think that against more wide open teams, you guys are going to do really, really well against, or you're going to do really well against those teams that are trying to get vertical because of their ability to really just, get up in the tackle and then still run through them, run by them. So.
Yeah, and you mentioned the pass game, and you all did have a 62-yard touchdown. Once he had time to throw, you were able to hit that deep touchdown pass there. When did you feel like though? And this might be a question for both of you though. Did you feel like the D line did a good job though, keeping in their lanes on some of those? Because some of those I feel like when he did take off, maybe there was a loss of gap control, or they were getting out of their lanes, or do you just feel like it just was a good, read by him to find the crease and then just take it for the minimal gain?
Since I keep deferring to you, I'll go first. Quit putting you on the spot like that. This might be controversial. I think it was kind of a necessary evil, and then to play spy behind it. And the reason why is because it was so disruptive to the pass game. It didn't show it, but I'm telling you, UTPB's best position group is the wide receiver room. And I've got a clip. I got a couple of clips that we can go over, but we have a 6'5" wide receiver. He runs 23 miles an hour, and he's got the silkiest mitts you've ever seen. And he because our talent is so deep in the wide receiver room, he only played like half the game because we were just moving people around and stuff. And so you really want to try and contain the quarterback, obviously, and stop him from running wild. But a lot of his runs were only 3 and 4 yards. Just you guys did good spying him, and you were so disruptive with the ends in the pass game. Again, it might be a little controversial, but I felt like it was a little bit of a necessary evil just to get in his face and make sure that he doesn't have time. So That was kind of my take on it.
So I'll second that. I don't think it's necessarily lack of gap integrity from the defensive line. I think it was they were able to create some pressure, and so obviously if you're not just getting the ball like quick, it's like you're having to go through your reads. And so I feel like the quarterback was able to, take what he can get and, just kind of, live to fight another down. Um, I would have liked to have seen, kind of more in the second half when we did kind of go to more of a man kind of thing. I would have liked to have seen Connor Johnson kind of spy the quarterback a little bit more. Um, him and Jalen Cottrell are probably some of the most athletic guys you will ever meet. Having been both their teammates and really seen them in the weight room and just some of the things they can do. But Connor Johnson is probably a 6'3", kind of a taller, more lankier quarterback. But he is probably, I mean, that dude has wheels. He's probably for sure in the top three of the fastest linebackers I played with at UCO, like by far. And some of those linebackers were some converted defensive backs as well too. So I think that would have been something to maybe help with when the quarterback was escaping, is maybe having one of our faster, more agile guys trying to spy on him more. But yeah, I don't think it was necessarily a lack of gap integrity. I think it was just good heady play by the quarterback.
Josh, now I know you have some clips that you wanted to share and break down. So I give the floor to you to go ahead and
Sure.
show those clips.
Yeah, so what I did is I just took a couple of clips from each drive. I skipped some drives. There just wasn't anything really noteworthy. Um, and sorry, one second. Let me grab my, see if we can do this here. I'm going to send you the share request here. All right, can you see me up here?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great. So unfortunately, fellas, I'm going to have to use my mouse, my telestrator. I could not get it to work. So I've made my mouse enormous, and hopefully you guys can see it. So this is the first drive, and you guys are going to run some zone over here. I'll just play it, and then we'll come back. This is a nice run, but we'll slow it down a little bit. Holding was called on this. And so we have hands are getting pretty high up here into the nose. And then we got hands pretty high up here to the nose, or to the backer from the, I think it's the tight end. You got a twist and then a throw here. It's kind of interesting. I saw hands kind of riding up a little bit. It's kind of, when you see hands really ride up on the shoulder pads, it's kind of hard to hide it to the linesman, especially when you don't have any you don't have a wide receiver down right in front of the obstructing the linesman's view, or the or anybody pulling or anything like that. But the reason I showed that is because of uh, this next play. One second, we're gonna have to skip ahead here. Oh, I skipped ahead too far.
It's funny you bring up that clip because that was one of the more productive run plays we had. Was whenever we did run to our nub tight end side, whether that's Dominic Dunn or Andrew Carney working on the edge. So I mean, those are two guys I was in the position group with, and so props to them on just them being able to grow as blockers, and obviously that's how we were able to spring some of our longer runs on the day.
Yeah, oh, sorry, I'm really struggling here. All right, here we go. It's just a little C tab is so difficult to move on here. So what we have, so that holding penalty ended up setting up 2nd and 13. And what we have is we have a zone blitz here. And this is Jacob Humphrey. He was my player of the game for UTPB. He was we had I don't think we talked about this. We had several defensive linemen who were out who would have played or started. And so Jacob Humphrey was kind of pushed into starting at nose tackle for us. He had what I thought was the game of his career. I know Tristan Exline was everywhere, had an interception sack, everything else, but Jacob Humphrey right here was incredible all game long. And so we have a tackle drop here. And so we have zone to this side. Running back steps up here, and he ends up kind of peeling out over here. And I think that's why he steps across. I'll turn the speed down a little bit here. Center can't get over because he still has responsibility at the middle in case Humphrey comes back. Running back comes here, so it's just kind of a got caught in a protection here. At least that was kind of my take on it. But the penalty on the previous play is kind of what set this up, because we're able to kind of play really soft back here, and then with the overload, Lane Horak gets over here. I'm going to turn the volume off here. But Lane Horak gets there. So you think we saw this later in the game from UCO that they actually adjusted this. And when the running back stepped across, he didn't go all the way to one side. He held because we ran this tackle drop a few more times and you guys stoned it basically every time. So UCO made a really nice adjustment after this play. All right, so this is the second drive for UTPB. This is some really disciplined defense here from UCO. I really, really like this. I've seen teams in the Lone Star just totally fall apart on this. And this is going to seem so simple, but it's such good defense. I had to put this in here. So we're going to go left here. Watch Cannon. He's going to fake the pitch. And so many teams, I've seen so many teams just fly out here because this is Corey Harris. He's on the Harlan Hill watch list. You guys bottled him up really, really well. I think he only had like 40 yards rushing. And people just fly out over here. They get way out over their skis. And UCO said, nope, we're not going anywhere. We're right here. Sheds a block. This is a great play by your All-American here. And he does get some yards here. But that was just such great discipline there. I've seen that go for like 60 yards just because people over pursue it. So I just wanted to give some kudos to the defense here.
That's actually a play that UCO. It's kind of a variation of it, but UCO actually runs that play as well too and has for several years. But that is one that and conference play you'll see where because again it's just a numbers thing. If you can get your guys more to the outside, then it's like obviously one breakneck and spring for it. But then the counter to that is now you're starting to pull your guard, and then now you have someone wrapping for kind of more of basically a quarterback kind of power play or quarterback trap kind of play. And so I think that's great defense by them. But again, that is a very, very lethal play that I think is starting to become a lot more common, especially if you have a quarterback that can at least produce you, at least 4 to 5 yards, because you don't want to put your quarterback in jeopardy like that. But if you got some runners at quarterback, then that play can be extremely, extremely lethal.
Well, I believe that you guys run it a lot because you played it perfectly. He just made a really good play inside. So, yeah, it was like 4 or 5 yards, but still I was really impressed just by the reaction of it. It was absolutely perfect. So this was one of the things that really kind of confused me a little bit on the call here. So we're in zero, or UCO's in zero, excuse me. And we have this gentleman here named Ben Patterson, who I alluded to a little bit earlier. He's 6'5", two-time all-conference, and he's made his living beating man coverage deep. That's all he does. That's his specialty. And so this is the long drive. If you guys remember when UTPB had the long drive, it started at the 3, went this is going to be play number 13 right here, or 13 or 14, excuse me. I kind of understand why the defensive coordinator would now they're in 0 deep. They drop back and there's a spy. I think there's maybe a short zone here, but this, to me, leaving Ben Patterson one-on-one in a red zone situation really kind of confused me because he wasn't a transfer. He's been here before. There's all this tape that he does this, and I'll play it. Oh, So you guys showed, and then we checked to change the play to try and for the sole purpose of exploiting this matchup. I guarantee you. He looks over there. Cannon looks over there. He's like, "Yep, that's where we're going." And
Mm.
this is great coverage, by the way. He's doing everything he can. There's just no help. And just knowing what I know about Ben, I was kind of confused by this call. Now I do know that like that was play 13, 14. At some point, your defensive coordinator, you just got to try something else. And I think that may have been it. But you guys have any thoughts on that? That kind of confused me a little.
Well, the man in coverage, Abner Dubar, I believe he's 6'2", 6'3". I think he runs like a 4'4", something along that, right? And I know talking to Coach Swanson, he's very high on Abner. He was a D1 guy like Minnesota. We got him out of
Gotcha.
JUCO, very athletic. So I think it would be one of those, we trust him in that one-on-one situation that, if it gets to a contested catch, he's able to either make the play, make it a difficult catch, right? It's just obviously when you're in man, obviously if you get beat, you get beat. Like there's no help. It's pretty much over with,
Yeah.
right? But I think that kind of might be the thought process there is we have a tall Ranger corner on there we feel confident in, and he just didn't win that rep. But that might have been where that line of thinking came from.
I think also one thing to point out with that is obviously the point of the coaches is to put your players in favorable position. And so obviously just from, a height and size wise, I mean, that's a favorable matchup for both people. But also there are some times where coaches will say like, you got to go earn your scholarship. And so, yeah, he's in man. Obviously the fade ball is one of the best man beaters out there. I still feel like he had pretty solid coverage on him. I think maybe if he could have got hands on him a little bit earlier in the route process to kind of throw off that timing, that might have maybe helped him out a little bit more. Again, I don't know what his technique is on there or like what he's been taught. So this is kind of me blindly speaking on it. But I mean, sometimes his defense is probably the most frustrating thing ever. It's like you can have perfect defense, but just better offense is always going to win out. And so, I mean, I think that ball was placed. That's exactly where you want it, right there on the edge. The receiver gave his quarterback space to work with, and he was able to just come up and make a play. So, I mean, it's on the outside looking in. You think, oh, well, why do we want to do that? But hey, I mean, at some point, corners you're going to have to cover somebody in man, and I think that was just one time where obviously it didn't come out in UCO's favor. But I think that's just a tremendous job by the quarterback placing the ball, but then the receiver to come down with it as well too.
Yeah, I think maybe some of the where I got a little hung up on that was obviously if you're at the 5, you got to play man. It's man on man, but they were a little further out, about 25, 30. UCO's defense had been kind of giving up like 3 and 4 and 5 yards, but had been playing really, really well. And a lot of the teams in the Lone Star, they're going to play 1 or they're going to play 2 over the top of that in that situation just to try and take that away from UTPB. But yeah, the coverage was really good. I was really impressed, just like he was there. It was just, the throw kind of beat him. So it was interesting. This play, I have it marked. So there was just right before this was the fumble on the RPO. Remember, he got on the ball, everything else. So let me make sure I have my 2 to the top. All right. Okay, we're good. This is really unlucky. Stoink, right off his leg and picked off. I just wanted to put this in here because this was a moment that changed the game, at least early on, and it was really unlucky. This is one of the things I alluded to in the early part of when we started the show was this game could have been a lot worse, but it could have been a whole lot closer, and it could have been a dogfight. And this is one of the plays that kind of changed that, just because it was kind of a momentum killer, and it took a little while for UCO to kind of like get the momentum back. The other thing this did was it kind of caused that, we had the 80-yard punt at one point, our special teams and our punting was really good, and you guys just kind of had to keep just driving the field, driving the field, driving the field, where we're starting at the 40, and this was kind of one of those turning points that was really, really unlucky for UCO.
And especially for us, because it normally, and I think we saw it on our two scoring drives, right? If we can get one play, then we just get rolling, and then it just
Yep.
falls into another and another and another. And I don't know how big of a gain that would have been. My guess would have been at least 15, 20 yards, probably would have been a substantial gain. And at that point, we would probably have gone tempo, and then we, from there, we really get rolling. And like you said, that was our best field position up to that point because credit to you all's punter. I mean, he did a fantastic job. Like that 80-yard punt. Listen, like we had Grayson Miller last year. He's at OU now. We saw fantastic punts too. So believe me, I appreciate quality punting. That was a heck of a punt. Like that was a heck of a punt, and the bounce he got and the roll he got, that was really incredible. So yeah, no, I agree because at that point it kind of was, like we didn't have much going, and then that could have gotten us going. And then after the turnover, now there's a short field for you all. The crowd's back into it. There's momentum now. So I 100% agree that those were definitely one of the plays that definitely affected the outcome because it changed momentum, it changed field position. And I don't remember, do you all score off that?
Off of that interception,
Yes, I can't remember if
Greg
you all.
Davis? No, it ends in a sack and a punt. We're going to get into that.
Okay.
Really good defense from UCO. Really stymies this. By the way, that punter's a true freshman in his first start.
Hey, shout out to him because game of his life. I mean, the that's part of the mental chess game that comes with football. I think gets overlooked is the kicking game. It is not just that is a equal part of the phases within the game, just as much as offense and defense. And so, if you can pin offenses back and make them have to drive the field, a lot of offenses aren't able to do that. A lot of offenses want to keep their drive somewhere between 6 to 9-ish plays. But if you're having to have someone start from within their 20 or within their 10, barring, just like 40, 50, 60-yard like bomb of a play, you're going to ask your offense to try to string together a 10-plus drive play. And most offenses can't do that. So, I mean, that was one of the biggest things I thought, kind of hurt UCO was offense or was just field positioning, both offensively, always, being backed up, having to try to start a long drive, but then our defense trying to work on a short field. And, kind of one thing with, our returners and kind of the transition to colleges, the difference between high school and college when it comes to like the kicking game is sometimes you just need to eat it and live to fight another day. Like, yeah, you're going to have to feel this ball and you might fall down. Or like, yeah, you're going to have to it's going to be a little bit, covered up, or there's going to be people around you. There's going to be bullets flying around you. But that's a lot better of a field position starting at the, 25, 20, 25, 30 versus the 15, 10 because the ball bounces and is able to take a roll.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. This is we got stoned on. I think we had an incomplete pass on first down from memory. This is second down right after the interception, Jonathan. This is one of the best defensive plays of the game from UCO. It's just you can pick a player on UCO's team, and it's amazing. So let's make sure I have the. Yep. So we're gonna throw a screen out here, but also watch the defensive ends as well. Have this in my notes. It's all covered to this side. You have a 3-on-3 up here, and it's just totally blown up. I mean, it's totally covered to this side perfectly, and then it just gets blown up top. I mean, this is textbook. And look, I mean, I can't say enough good things about this play right here from the UCO defense.
I think one thing with a lot of those quick passes or even screens, kind of more so is a lot of teams you're starting to see the two blockers out there. they actually come together and double team that point man, because usually there's someone who, if the ball comes out now, they're directly to the flats, whether it's the corner or linebacker, a safety dropping in, whatever it is. But offenses now are starting to just double team that and then work their way up. And you'll see them get, I mean, 8, 10 yards before they're being touched because they work that double team first. And so I think that's something where, if the number one receiver out there, they're able to work that double team and then come off on the corner. I mean, if you look at that, they could split that pretty easily because I mean, it's just no one out there. I think this might be a time when UC was in man. So probably not the best time to try to throw a now kind of ball to them right now. But yeah, I think that's something like they can work that double team and come up. They could get a ton of yards off of it.
Daunte, this is your big corner right here, right? It's hard to tell. I was
Yeah,
trying to look at this.
I'm
I
not
think
too
that's
sure.
him.
If it's number 2 or number 3, because they're both about 6'2", so
That's
that those,
three. It's
yeah,
three.
yeah, because I think Abner's about 6'3".
Yeah, it's number three. Is who it is. Now, what we have done in the past is this is Traylon Sewell. He scores the 70-yarder later in the game. We like to try and seal and then get up the sideline and just outrun this guy. That's kind of what we've done in the past, but this is just it's textbook all across the board, and the safety's getting there too.
And
This is really
the
well
ball
done.
actually comes out too, and that's just an unfortunate break for UCO, but unfortunate for Permian Basin. But again, that's one of those where it's like, hey, the defense can get that ball, get some momentum going. I mean, that could definitely result in some points being put on the board for UCO at this point. But I mean, that's just good job by the defense right there. And then you
Yeah,
also see the pursuit with it as well too. So even if it was to break or whatever, it's like you have guys running to the ball, and that is something that you can't coach. You can preach it all you want to, but it is a mentality. It is intentional. It's a decision to, hey, I don't care how I am. I don't care what's happened before. I'm getting to this ball regardless. And I think that's just a good job by the defensive unit because I mean you just see hats all around the ball.
it's really well done. All right, so this is our fourth drive. So in the previous one, the previous UCO drive, this is the third drive. Um, we stop the run first and second down. We force a 3rd and 10 and get a stop on an out route with our corner Jared Cameron. So then we get the ball back and see, it's kind of we were talking about with field position. It's just, but this is 3rd and 12 right here, and my note here is defensive line. I think this is one of the DN plays where they just go absolutely nuts. Yeah, right here. This is a blow by. And it's a 3rd and 12. And because it was 3rd and 12, you guys are playing a lot softer, which helps you guys out a lot. You guys play a lot better when you're playing soft. Like when you can get in those positions to play soft and you can let those defensive ends get there, you guys are really tough to deal with. We didn't like this at all.
Yeah, I felt like
This is the
last year at times too. I go back for Fort Hayes. We started the game off. I think it was 21-0, something like that, and playing kind of like that, right, soft, and then we immediately go man on the next series, and then we give up like a 60-something yard touchdown. It's like I get the fact that we want to throw different looks, and I get the fact that we have belief that our corners are good in man, but I also like if it's not broke, don't fix it type of thing. And so I noticed that after that we had went back when we were doing the previous 3 drives, and then we got 2 3 and outs, got up 35-7, and then at that point it didn't really necessarily matter. But yeah, I know we do like mixing it up, and I know that we do have a belief we have corners that can play in man. I know Willie. I think he's number 1 for us. Really good at man. Willie's problem is he's like
Willie Rice.
five. Yeah, Willie Rice. He's like 5'8", 5'9", though. So sometimes those matchups aren't favorable for him. But Willie is really good. Is really good at man. The other corners sometimes I get uneasy sometimes because it's not consistently good as it is in zone. But I do understand why we don't run that, that soft every single time. But to your credit, but to
Oh
your
yeah,
point though, I
yeah.
mean we saw this at times last year too, where we went away from zone and it didn't really end well for us. And then when we went back to zone, it usually ended pretty well for us. So
That was kind of what I noticed as well. Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit more. It's just when the defensive ends. This is right around the time the defensive ends really started to get dominant in pass rush. This is So we end up punting right after that play. UCO's fourth drive goes three and out on the ground and punts. I noticed Jacob Humphrey at nose for UTPB dominant on second and third down. So here we have fifth drive UTPB. Again, field position, field position, field position. This was the drive that started when we got like the 20-yard punt return. They kind of came down here to this sideline from Heston Kelly, and I think this is in zero again. I think we're back in zero here for UCO. Yeah, that was my note down here. So they're having to play more off they're because they don't have anything over the top, which kind of allows Ben to break that off. And to your point, Dante, what you were talking about was playing some underneath, trying to contain Cannon a little bit. You saw that in the coverage here.
Hmm.
I think that was part of it. Nine looks like he's kind of playing kind of like a rover back to the middle. Not quite sure what uh, what the call was for the middle of the field there because I'm not as familiar with you guys as I am our team, but they went through a period there where they were just playing more off with no help over the top, which was kind of letting some of those break off routes happen. UTPB,
I don't know if you looked at the size. They're all kind of taller backs.
yeah,
None of them are 5'6", 5'7", 5'8". They're all generally about 6'1", 6'2". But none of them are finesse runners. Like even our All-American, he is more of a he's just more. I guess he came back. He is just more agile than
hmm
really anything. So like yes, he is able to like make moves on guys, but again, he's not a soft runner at all. So it's like it's kind of like with Derrick Henry, where it's like if he gets rolling or if you don't make him change directions or pat his feet at the line of scrimmage, then he's going to get rolling and keep on rolling. And so this is probably one of the longer runs I'd seen from this running back right here because he just kept rolling.
yeah, he's got pretty good top end speed. We had to. I think our top corner came from all the way across the field was the only one who ended up catching him. Jonathan, are you recording? Can you see my screen and everything?
yeah, yeah, I'm not sure what happened. You were in the film breakdown, and then like I just got booted off of Zoom, and I was like, well, I hope it's still capturing and recording as I try to get back on, and then it let me back on, so I'm not entirely sure what happened to
You
me there.
you have had a you've had a couple moments where your audio has cut out, at least on my end, that he heard the same thing. So I don't know if you're having a network issue, maybe.
That could be the case. When Wi-Fi sometimes, internet sometimes does get spotty. Um,
Yeah, good.
but yeah, I mean, as long as we're still recording, we're good. But yeah, to the Will Mason, I was surprised. I honestly, because I feel like we hadn't seen Will in a whole lot of open space before, at least not to that degree. So when he kind of hit that side, I was like, oh, well, I didn't know Will had this kind of gear to him. So, but I thought he could have scored on this. When Schumann is throwing the block down there, I almost feel like he kind of went the wrong way on the block. I felt like I can't remember if he should have cut either in or out, but I feel like there was a path for him to score on that run. because he scores on the next play. But I think if he reads that block better, he might be able to score it on this actual play.
Are you about down? I'm so sorry. Are you talking about down the field, the block down the field?
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, this was one of the bigger like moments from the game, not just the run, but I think it speaks volumes to like the team and just the offensive unit. The way you get long, deep runs like this is you have to have everyone committed to their assignment, and you have to get your receivers throwing blocks down the field. And that is something that Curly preaches with the receivers. And it's a must. You have to have the ability to block and be willing to do it at a moment's notice because, again, you don't know whenever your man could be the one to turn a potentially 40, 50-yard run to, they just made it a 15 or 20-yard run because you weren't giving effort on your block. So I think, again, this is one of the moments that made me extremely optimistic for the offensive because when you have receivers committed to blocking, that says so much about your offense, your philosophy, and then people's just mentality and commitment to one another. And so that was one of the moments I noticed when it first happened, and absolutely loved it. I was it Schumann that was throwing the ball?
Yeah, I think it was
I
Schumann.
think it was Schumann that was throwing the block.
I can go back. The that close view I have doesn't show the end of it, unfortunately, and sometimes they like to do it from Mars, the camera angle from Mars. So 15, is that right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Is that your guy? Okay, got it. Now I want to be a UTPB homer for 1 second here, and then I'll go back to being as objective as possible. Okay, this right here, I want that called. I'm gonna play it. His hand, he's held so hard. This is our defensive end, Malik Allen. He's held so hard that the hand is over his helmet at one point. It's actually hilarious. If I was watching this as a different team, a fan of a different team, I would have died laughing. Yeah, which is why he can't get back into play. That being said, the stuff on the backside of the blocking is great. This was pretty dominant right here as well. I don't know that if he can get back in the play, but as a UTPB homer, um, this is a good block right here too. He had kind of had a hold of him, but that corner wasn't making that play. So yeah, I was really impressed with his open on that. You could tell he's kind of a bigger guy. You don't see big guys at the football in Division Two that can really move like that. So you guys got something there with him. William Mason, is that his name?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he's 225 now. He came in at 215 out of Kuwait, I want to say. He played as a true freshman, which kind of surprised me that we didn't just play him the 3 games in redshirt. He only had like a handful of carries, but he played on kickoffs. And then last year, him and Jalen were our 1-2 punch. Obviously, Jalen being more of our finesse speed guy, and Will we use more the between the tackles. I think he had like 700 something yards in his own right, which is impressive, seeing how Jalen had over a thousand. But yeah, no, Will's a special player.
Really good player. Very impressive. All right, seven. Let's see here. Sixth drive for UTPB after the run. Gibson gets sacked. We're forced to punt. I know here UCO defensive ends continuing to be dominant. Sixth UCO's drive after that. That's when we got the 80-yard punt. It goes down to the 5-3-5, whatever it was. We are able to stop the run. We drop 8 on 3rd and 5, and your receiver dropped the ball for the first down, ends up forcing a punt, which had he have caught it would have helped field position tremendously. Just kind of getting out of inside the 10 there. So this is the 7th drive for UCO. I really, really like this because there were some times where I think Huff's instinct at times is to just hit the back of his drop and it's coming out. And what I really like from this is the patience that he shows to just allow this to develop here. So he sits this time and right here. This is just really good. And I know that it's something that's simple, but the blocking up front is great. Gives him a nice clean pocket, and he's nice and patient. Doesn't freak out. Boom. And this is just a veteran quarterback doing veteran quarterback things. There's timing routes to each side, but he sees what's going on. I really like this out of him.
And I think this was when he talked to me, he mentioned this something that he wanted to improve on, was this because last year he got in trouble at times when, like you said, the 1, 2, 3 drop wasn't there. We saw times where he kind of ran into a sack or he forced a pass. I thought from that perspective, this was probably Jet's best game in terms of, when that wasn't there, reading through progressions or improvising or throwing it away or taking off or moving in the pocket. I thought from that perspective, this was Jet's best game, which is saying a lot because he's coming off of an All-American season. So I do agree with you that I was impressed by Jet given the
Oh, I
circumstances
think we
of
lost you for a second.
oh 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 am I good?
Oh, I think you're back now, Jonathan. I
Okay.
think you're back now.
Okay. Yeah, no, yeah, I was just saying that to your point, this is something that Jet has improved on from last year that I did see too that given the quick game wasn't there, I thought he did a good job maneuvering in the pocket and not putting the ball in harm's way too much.
Yeah, go ahead, Dante. I'm so sorry.
I was saying, I think that one of the things that this play kind of also shows is that if at times we're not necessarily, because I felt like a lot of our routes were more kind of more intermediate to kind of more down the field type of routes. I didn't really see too many check downs or routes being thrown like from under 5 yards. And now, granted, our tight end Dom was able to get rolling on this because everyone had dropped and he had space. But it's a saying, you don't go broke picking up change. And so I think that if obviously you're intermediate, you're intermediate and your deep balls aren't hitting, there's nothing wrong with taking a 5 yard pass and letting someone rumble bumble for maybe 7, 8 yards or possibly even a first down at times, just to some you stay in rhythm, you're completing passes, you're letting your guys get out and make plays, and you're continuing to drive. So then now it's like, okay, if you start hitting some of those, now that starts to open up your intermediate balls. Or then if you have the run game, then that's where you hit the play actions, and then the intermediate, and then your long range balls are going to be open more. So I think that'd be something that I think I'd like to see more of moving forward with UCO. It's just nothing wrong with taking the check downs, letting the
If he can build on that, I mean, you guys, uh, you guys will probably run the table the rest of the schedule. It's just kind of those little bitty things, and it's kind of what we've been talking about the whole time. Just this could have been way closer, or it could have been worse. So this is if you remember, if we go back, I showed that blitz off of the holding penalty early where we zone blitz and we did a tackle drop. I want you to watch the running back here. Watch the adjustment that gets made on this. This is really good from UCO. So the tackle's going to drop. Boonk. Rotates over. Oh, man, sorry. Sometimes the views on the broadcast are really hard to get them so that we can see them, but there's a rotation. So instead of rotating out this way, the protection slides this way to hold it, and then he picks up the end. This is really good job. This is a really good adjustment. Stones it cold, and he had really good time there. I think this was incomplete. I didn't mean to cut this clip off. I don't know why. Maybe there was something wrong with the broadcast. There was a lot of issues with it.
One thing that helps a running back out is from the running back position, you got to understand you're working from depth. So it's like even though you might step up, you do not have the space or the time to sit there and wait someone to get a full head of steam rushing and just run through you, because most of these linebackers are not going to work a move. They're just going to run through you. So one thing that he did that's extremely hard to do, and even the years that I was there at UCO and Coach Holland used to preach this to the running backs, is you have to go meet it. And I mean, look, he steps up and he basically becomes an extension of basically another tackle, the type of way that he's working. I mean, he has a good base. I mean, completely just absorbs it. I mean, that is tremendous by a young running back right there. And that's something that, I mean, a lot of running backs don't want to be involved in pass protection, but I mean, that's just a great, tremendous rep right there. And I think that's something that if you can build off of and helping out in the pass game, where it's like you don't necessarily have to keep a tight end in to provide that extra protection, that can open up the pass game as well too, because now you're able to get, like I said, those short, medium inner routes, the short and intermediate routes from like your tight end to kind of help out.
Yeah. Totally stones it too. Sorry, I got a different view and added it after that first clip to make it a little better. Yeah, he just totally stones it. This is one of the adjustments that UCO made that really stuck out to me, because we ran this several more times and it just got stoned every time after this. Now it does get there because he Huff kind of drops back a little bit, but it was just a really good adjustment. It ends up basically getting back to the line of scrimmage. So go to the next one. Hands got really high. This is kind of a billboard. When you guys when they stay down, you guys didn't get called. But I want you guys to look down here at the time, 35.9. You guys are moving the ball. We're gonna look right down here. This is Gary Holmes for us. Kind of see hands get high right there, and that's why this gets called. They end up calling this holding. But the reason why I put this in here is because that 10-yard penalty killed all of your momentum at the end of the half, and that was it also cost you guys 10 seconds, and that's when you guys kicked the 50-yard attempted the 50-yard field goal at the end of the half, and then it was no good. So it's just kind of one of those things where it's just like, just a little kind of thing that you guys could have pretty easily been 13-10 into the half and with quite a bit of momentum. However, you guys didn't need the momentum. This is great blocking up front from UCO. And I'm so sorry about the camera angle. Our production zoom in on the back end players sometimes. I don't know why. So you can't see anything else. I don't know if I was able to get another angle of this.
The MIAA network does the same thing, so you're not alone in that. You'd be like, bro, why are we zooming? Like, why are we zooming?
Yeah, you know what I tuned in to see? Jet Huff's backside. That's what I tuned in to see. Like, come on, guys, come on, let's let us watch the game. But anyway, I'm glad. I'm not glad that you share in my pain, but I'm glad that we're kindred spirits in that regard. So, it was really good blocking. I couldn't find a better angle of it. Takes it 45 yards, just gashes us. And all of a sudden, UCO's got a lead here. And this is, when I was watching this live, I was like, ooh, this is going to get good. Because I knew you guys were back and you're kind of getting them, having to deal with all the problems of field position and just kind of like ground out in the running game. And then like, okay, I think we got a football game now. This is gonna be great. So, ninth drive UCO. Now you guys get it. You guys actually drove it down here inside the 30. Um, I'm trying to remember what clip this is. Oh, okay. We stuffed the run on first down, forcing second and 11. Um, Quarterback scrambles, gets it to 3rd and 7. I think this is actually 3rd and 7. The scoreboard is wrong. And the route is just a little short. Now the receiver hesitates a little bit, and so I don't know if he was supposed to break this off or if he's trying to cut to grass. I don't know, what your offense is. But if this ball is just a little bit further out, it takes him over the sticks. I'll play it uninterrupted so you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. That ball is just a little bit out front of him. It carries him over the sticks.
Yeah, it looks like from our number 3, he's kind of clearing things out over the top to kind of open that up. But
Yep.
that's one where in practice, coaches tell you to go beyond your depth because once you get in game, you're going to try to chop it off anyways. So I think that this is something that, it's 3rd and 7. They're probably trying to tell me, hey, this is probably usually a 5-yard route because if not, then it turns into a dig, so to say. But again, this is kind of some situational awareness like, hey, if it's 3rd down, run the extra step and then break it off. But yeah, this is just a little bit short.
It also could be he's trying to fit the ball. I think that's Mikhail Soto. It's a little bit of a narrow window, but it's mostly just kind of unlucky. There's good coverage back here, but it's just kind of just one of those things. It's just a little unlucky for UCO. Makes a great tackle right here on great coverage. But this was one of the fullback dive plays they got stuck, and it ended up being a turnover on downs. I do have a clip later with one of those that I want to talk about later. But on the next drive for UTPB, I just my notes. Really nice job, UCO defensive line forced UTPB punt. Ninth drive UCFO fullback dive stuff. Okay, here it is. Daunte, I'm gonna pick your brain on this. I'm just gonna let it play out first, though.
So that is a play that that fullback specifically loves to run, and UCO has been extremely successful with it, converting 3rd downs, 4th downs. Once you get onto like kind of goal line, I mean, if you go look at him, I'm willing to bet he probably has, just 10 touchdowns, 10 plus touchdowns throughout his career just from this play right here. So this is something that UCO runs often. I think the key to this play is you have to start low and you just fire off. You want to aim kind of where their thigh pads are because at that point it's like you're not low enough to where they can kind of collapse over the top of you, but then you're not high enough to where like now you can get drove back. And so I just think that this is just a good surge from the Permian Basin defensive line because, again, they stopped this play a second time. But I think they just did a good job by not letting the UCO offensive line get any sort of push on them, which that's kind of disheartening for UCO because, again, it's like you have the element of surprise. When the ball is getting snapped, you can very much load up on this. So it's like you have all the advantages for this play to work for you and then for it to not. I think that's just a tremendous job by the Permian Basin defensive line right here.
I think we got a really good surge, but I noticed something interesting that I wanted to pick your brain on. Did they run this play when you were there?
Say it again.
Did they run this play when you were there, when you were playing? Okay, so I noticed something really interesting. It's hard to see in this clip because of the camera angle, but if it is, everybody slants in. And it's like a heavy slant. But what that causes, yes, you've got to be tough right here at the point of attack. But this is the guy who in the play because the distance for him to get to the ball is a lot shorter because everyone's slanting in so hard. So let me play it and watch up to the top here.
Hmm.
He doesn't have to go anywhere, and he's right there. And he's who ended up making the play. And so I just thought that was kind of interesting that I think the idea is you're just trying to make a flying wedge.
Yeah.
But maybe there was something with maybe it was too much of an angle or something. I don't know. Or maybe it was something just UTPB saw on film. I don't know. I kind of want to pick your brain on that and see what
I
your
know,
thoughts were.
no, at least when I was there, the way it was taught is your head up to inside, regardless, because again, the type of surge we're needing, it doesn't help out to turn out because now that just creates a gap for someone to fly through. And so the whole point is you're all just working inside and you're taking whoever shows up, whether it's head up to inside. But if you have someone inside, that's obviously that takes precedent over if someone's head up on you. This was something that we kind of ran into whenever I played as well too, because it's like if someone's outside shade, Permian Basin, they actually do a good job because a counter UCO has off of that is fake the dive, throw the pitch. But you see, they have two guys working the outside for the pitch as well too. So then, and this could be something where I think
Yeah, I'm
schematically, if
here.
UCO a regular basis, where it's like if you get into a situation like this, you have your tight end turn out because again, that is the guy that makes the tackle. But again, if you also look, if that guy is picked up, now you have this crease. Everyone's at the line. The only person who's going to be able to try to make that play if it breaks would be that corner at the top or
Or X
someone pushing.
line. Yeah.
So that's something where I think schematically, if there is just more to work off of or showing that hey, this is what they like to do when we do this, that would be an adjustment that UCL would make. But just traditionally, that's how they run that. That's how they run that play. And like I said, I'm willing to bet 92% of the time they're converting that. So I think this is just one of those times that obviously good by the defensive line, but then also great schematics from Permian Basin.
And I just want to give a shout out to Jacob Humphrey again on the nose. I don't think he was even supposed to start the game, but started due to injuries, and I thought he was just absolutely insane up front at the nose. So, really good insight from you. I really appreciate that on that play. Jonathan, do you have anything?
No, you all got it covered here. I mean, I listen. Hey, I sometimes you gotta just defer. I would defer. Hey, I learned something new today about how he ran the play. So, hey, this is why we're here.
Yeah. Well, I had this. I told you I had this idea. I'm like, I think this would be pretty good. And then I log on here, and you're like, oh yeah, I've got a former player on here. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be great. So, all right, perfect. Let me see. Is this the 3rd and 10 play? Oh yeah, okay. I think I remember this. So I think this ends up being 0 again. Really good job by the defensive line again. And this is the pass interference. And I think what happened is he thought this ball was deflected. Let me go back. Just because of the way it came out of Cannon's hand, I think he thought it was deflected. Because it's just kind of a wounded duck, and but this is one of this ends up in a 15, and it kind of, this ended up being the story of this drive where the two 15-yard penalties on it, and it really kind of helped out UTPB on this. This is another one. They're in 0 again. Same drive. Really good coverage up here to the top. And then Tillman gets grabbed. And I don't know why he grabbed it. It's really good coverage. Tillman's not catching that.
Yeah,
This is dead on. I mean, this is great coverage. I don't think Tillman comes down. If Tillman comes down with that, he's just going to swat the ball out of his hands. but it just kind of 30 yards in penalties, and this is kind of one of those drives that kind of starts unraveling UCO just because of kind of what I view as just two kind of unforced errors. Oh, go ahead, Dante. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, two long yardage penalties, especially when you have, favorable, down and distance on your side, and then you commit two penalties. I mean, corner is one of the hardest positions to play in football. Everyone knows that. I think what makes it so hard is because you can be in good position whether you zone turn and you're watching the ball, or if you're in man and you're just basically playing the arms and things, you could still be in favorable position and still come up with a penalty here. And so it's tough because, again, and then if you're facing your man and then you go to turn your head, that's when obviously they catch over the top of the head or they back shoulder you. Like, I mean, they dice you up any kind of way they can. But right here, I mean, the only way I would, in my opinion, I would look at that is like, unless if it's just a ball that's like really outstretched from the corner, I wouldn't necessarily panic because you're already in his hip and you're already like in that man kind of phase right there. So it's like really all you have to do is just play that inside hand, and you're probably going to come up with the ball getting on the ground right there. So I think this is maybe something just getting a little bit too handsy or slightly panicking right there. But like you're in great position. I mean, again, just little technical things that can be easily corrected in practice and film. And unfortunately, like this happened in the game. But again, it's like that's football. You're going to have people take shots on you, and I'm willing to bet next week this is probably going to be something Pitt State does is try UCO's corners because they've seen that either A, it's a penalty, or B, Permian Basin, was coming up with some of these passes. So I think that might be something you'll see UCO might see later on just from, this first game and depending on how it goes later on the season. But I mean, it's tough right here because, again, it's obviously, hindsight, us being able to look at it from film and all this stuff. It's, oh, hey, we can say what he should do, but it's like in the moment, I mean, I can't really fault him for playing how he did because he's in great position right there. Just, it's live or die by kind of thing.
Yeah, it's tough. And, you guys have a counter, though. You guys have a counter to what we ran here, and I have a clip of it. And I think that if you guys run it against Penn State, you'll be very successful, and these kinds of things won't happen. And I have that clip later in the little package here, so we'll keep it moving right along. Okay, and this is the resulting touchdown off of those two pass interferences. It's just really nice blocking from UTPB here. Pull two across. This is a play that Coach McCullough ran at East Central to absolute perfection. And a lot of people don't know, but when Coach McCullough was at East Central, they were running a lot of 12 personnel, which is kind of weird compared to like what you kind of see them do now. And they would run a lot of this, just the same power to the outside. 10th drive UCO. So this is one of the distinctions I kind of wanted to make because Jonathan, you talked a lot about coverage, and I wanted to make sure I covered that for you about the UTPB backend. One of the reasons why the coverage in a lot of ways was so tight is because they always know they have help over the top. It's very rare to see a UTPB defense in zero. You can be that tight when you know you've got help. And he knew he had help to the inside. I think there was another safety back here to the back end. This camera angles were awful. Okay, so here's the bomb. So back in zero. And I'm so sorry about the camera angle. I can't control any of that. I don't actually. It just from what I know of the offense, This is just a go. It's one step out and up.
Seems like he had a lot of space to work with. And so I would imagine the corner is thinking again. I wasn't able to watch film on Perm Basin or see what UCO was able to see, but it seems like if he did bite hard, it's because he had a lot of space to work with, and so I think he might have been fearing either the out route or the sail route, and then just turns up and just turns out to be a go route right there. But even still, it's like you see that there was someone in the quarterback's face for from UCO, and so it's one of those things that if I think again, this is just a timing route because you see the quarterback is like he's not panicked whatsoever, like had his eyes set. I mean, and then just like delivered a pretty good ball. So I mean, again, there's a lot of good things from the UCO perspective that even though it turned out to be a negative, there's still a lot of good things going on. This is just one where we just got beat. We got beat deep with in coverage.
Cannon's a little bit of a gunslinger. He's got just kind of that little bit in him. But I might be wrong about this. It looks like we were setting something up with that. Remember, we had a jet motion off this play. It looks like we were setting up a check down right here. So that might have been available to him if we didn't get the go. And we had the tight end over the middle. So there's not much more to this clip from my end, but all right. This is the X line INT. Something I noticed about UCO in the UCO offense. And you do run variations of it, but a lot of the time when you guys run a swing route, immediately it could be a tight end on a jet motion running a swing route. It could be a running back. It could even be a wide receiver. But a tendency that I saw a lot on film was when you guys run a swing route, you immediately put your foot on the ground once you run out of space and try and get vertical. And I want you to watch Tristan Exline's feet. This is going to be Tristan Exline right here. He anticipates this. He saw this on film. I guarantee it. Off before, did you catch that? He takes off before your running back does. Watch his head. Watch his head and his shoulders over here. Hunk. And that's how he gets this interception. This isn't a bad read by the quarterback. It's just an unbelievable play by the linebacker. This had to be something the way that he reacted, he either saw it enough times in the game or he saw it in film. But this is just an outstanding individual effort from the All-American Tristan Exline down here. It's not a bad ball either. It's a good play.
I think that's a good understanding of scramble rules. It's like if you're not the one plugging up and when the quarterback breaks contain to come be in his face, and understand that if it is short routes go deep and deep routes come short. So I mean that's again he was making that what they say he ran that route for the running back, and so
Yeah.
again, like I don't hate the decision from Jet. I like the placement of it. I think that's just a good job by the defender, just understanding those rules and just being in the right place. I mean, I was right to him. So you might think like Jet, where you going with it? It's like again, people want to knock defensive plays for not being the brightest or like they can't catch, and that's why they're on the defensive side. I mean, that play clearly contradicts that. So I mean, defensive players are smart. They pick up on tendencies. They are knowledgeable. And that's one thing. I mean, if you understand that and you kind of know the team's tendencies, that's how you make those type of plays from film.
I completely agree with you about the ball from Jet. I thought it's probably a really good read. And against just about any other linebacker in the country that can't run like a deer, that's going to be turned up the field for 15, 20 yards. It's just Tristan X-Line doing Tristan X-Line things. And just kind of one of these other things. It's just kind of unlucky. It's a great play, but it's also unlucky for UCO. Double check here. There was also sorry, I want to go back to this. The other thing is and again, Daunte, you're going to know the offense way better than me. I think this is your primary though, and watch what happens to him. Ball's down, and he's kind of open.
Mm-hmm.
Just out of frame. So if he's primary and then Jet's forced to go that way, it's kind of, there's nothing you can really do about that.
Well, I'm thinking if you're on the hatch and you look to the short side of the field, I'm thinking he's expecting the number one to get open because he ran kind of more of an in-breaking route, whether that's a slant or, some variation of like inside release into a hitch. But I mean, that corner did a good job being impressed. He did not give up any sort of ground whatsoever. And that is something when you see with corners that and they're impressed. If you give up any sort of ground, that's how you get beat. I don't care what type of route it is, like the receiver, whatever it is. But that's great technique from the corner. He did not give up any ground and then was in his pocket. And you seen that through jet off. And then obviously he had to make other things happen there. But I anticipate that's kind of what he was because short side of the field seemed like he was trying to get the ball kind of quicker. So I'm thinking it was kind of more of a slant or a hitch type of route. But that was just a good technique by the corner.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I told you guys that you guys have a counter to a lot of this where we're kind of getting you in zero and getting PI or just bombing it on you. This is what I think would be a lot more effective for you guys against teams who are going to employ this strategy in the future. And this is a great play by the safety here. Cover one saves today. My stupid labels. Ball's going to come over here to the right.
Mm-hmm.
Catches it, pops it. Now look, if they're in zero, it's 6. We're in 0. They actually might have been in 2. I'd have to.
I'm thinking because initially that linebacker kind of passed him off. He didn't turn to run with the man. So I'm thinking it was some sort of zone, not necessarily man. But even still, that's not bad placement if it is 2. I'm not too sure what coverages is because then you have over at the top, someone's over the top, but then someone's in man chasing that person leaking. So maybe I'm not too sure.
It's a hybrid. I think you've got man underneath with a 1 or a 2 over the top.
Mm-hmm.
It looks hybrid to me, but I can't tell if he's in man or if maybe he was in man and he just saw the throw come over. I don't know, but for sure this guy's sitting. He's in zone for sure. Right. And whatever this coverage is, just having that extra guy back there. This is he's 250 pounds. He's probably going to break the corner's tackle as he's coming back. He's alone. And this is just an outstanding play by 24 here. I don't know who that is.
That's David Williams. It's David Williams.
David Williams, the senior from Cisco.
Yeah, he saved our hide against Missouri Western last year. He had a huge hit on a 3rd down that forced a fumble and the ball because the man had the first down, but because of his hit, the fumble went back behind the first down marker and it forced a punt. We were able to score off that and tie the football game.
This is
awesome. And no targeting here too. I mean,
it's
traditional kill shot type of play that anyone before 2015 that is this play. But no, he actually put his head on the ball, which I mean that receiver has no chance to try to bring it in because he literally attacked the ball and his chest, his head, nothing else. So I mean, that's something that they're obviously trying to get out of the game now. Whether you love it or hate it, I mean, that is ideally how you want your safeties to play. If they're not able to make a play on the ball, run through the man, lower your target zone, lower your center of gravity, and just run through them. And I mean, that's a great play right there.
One for either team, one of my defensive plays of the game right there. Okay, so this is something else. This is um Jamarian Robinelli. He's been in the program for about 3 years. I think he's a junior. He anticipates a route here. Robinelli is going to be up here, and it's one of these two inside routes. I can't remember. It's just an example of really good coverage. I think he anticipates it. I'm not sure how. I don't know if it's something they saw in film. I don't know if it's something he saw in the game. But look at this. Look at this close. Now this is a veteran defensive back. This closeout. This is a great read by Huff because his X line is pulled out of the play by the running back. Got a pocket here. We're in man with help. This is a great closeout. I don't know if that's a tendency or what, but I just wanted to include that. I thought that was a really nice play. That was for you, Jonathan.
Yeah, I feel like some of those we might make, and we still might come down, maybe a few more of those later on in the season. But we were making catches like that last year, where the closeout was good. We were just able to absorb that, make the catch, and I feel like there were a few of those yesterday on a Saturday where we just weren't able to bring it down. It would be in guys' hands, and the closeout would come, and we weren't able to secure that catch. And so I think that's something, one of those things you can work on and hopefully improve on and fix. Like we had talked about, for kind of both teams, that's kind of one of those things for you. So I feel like we can improve on that, making sure we can try to make the catch, absorb the contact, secure the catch, and that kind of things.
Oops, sorry guys. Is this a concept you guys run a lot, Dante? I'm just curious.
So yes, that is
So
typically when teams are sitting in zone. That is one of those just find space, curl, and sit down, kind of like a spacings type of concept because
yeah,
you have the back swinging out. They UCO didn't do it as much today, but in years past they have done where they throw the swing route or they run like a bubble from number three, just those sort of routes. And so this is one of the counters off of that is if you see that action going towards you, I think the way Jet reads it is first off, if someone goes with the back, then you know it's man, obviously. But just looking to see how they trade it off, because if people trade it off and leave your back open, obviously you throw it to the back. But I think why he threw this one because one, the window was there, but then two,
yeah,
that would have been a first down if it's caught. So I mean, again, right read. I'm not mad at the throw. Would like to come down with that one, but yes, that is one route as far as when teams start to go zone that UCL would do, where it's just hey, take what they give you 5 yards, and then there's also the counter where you have the double move off of with the bubble, but then also off of this route as well too, where you have like a double move and go.
right. So some teams call this a switch concept, but I didn't know if you guys run this very much with this switch. But I think I saw it again in the fourth, but I was just kind of wondering. Very
Yeah,
cool.
they will switch it where they have the receivers actually cross, but then there are also times where they'll actually line the tight end up as the number one. They actually did this with me as well too, but they'll line the tight end up as one and run that same route. It's just putting people in different places, but you're still running the same routes. So
Very cool.
it's more so just the like spacing.
Very cool. Okay, so this is kind of where I started to see reads get weird. So let me check. So we have two up here, and he's open kind of early for a quick hitter. We don't have very far to go. It's only second and five, but his eyes are down, it seems like. But I think he's supposed to be more of a clear out. But I'm sorry, they're not down. He's just not looking. He doesn't get his head around until here. The initial window, if they could, if could have had something, a timing on or something like that, they could have got a first down there. But I think he was mostly supposed to be trying to clear out. But the other thing I saw was, where is it? Sorry, there was one. The guy that runs to the flat. Yeah, five. That's what it is. Five's wide open at the beginning of this. Right here, that's a first down. He's gonna square his shoulder pads up and run over our DB. But instead we come here. So maybe you guys got a different coverage or something. This is where it ends up going. It could have been that it's just a different coverage, but he definitely looks, is that right? Trying to remember. Sorry, guys. Yeah, he definitely looks over here. And so it seems like the play design is to go to five, and he probably gets the first down here. I just thought that was kind of interesting. Either one of you guys have any thoughts?
It looks like it's a mesh, which I mean a lot of teams run the mesh. I
Mm-hmm.
think the tag is to have the tight end go to the flat. I think, and this is just my perspective, I think if they run this play earlier in the game to kind of start things off with, then he throws it to the tight end right then. I think that again, I don't know the I'm not in the meetings. I don't
Sure, sure.
think like that. But I'm thinking initially he looked that way to try to diagnose what type of coverage it is. And I think he might have seen that safety already breaking for that flat route. And so I
Yeah.
think that could have been why he may have came off of it because like, yeah, you can throw it, but I think he's trying to get the first down. And so he progressed off of it kind of quickly. But my thing is if you do progress off of that one quick, saying you have time to then get through your reads as well too. So if he progresses off the first one quickly, second one if it's not there, you can progress off of it even quicker because then if you look, your third read is going to be open, and that one would have been a first down as well too. So I think it's just a mesh route with a tag on there.
Got it. Good insight. I love this, by the way. The fake screen and go. It's a different design than what Ohio State and Oregon run. But if you guys would have run this earlier in the game, I think it would have been successful. Just playing off that effective. But I also understand that we're gonna check out. It's still open. If it was earlier, I really like that concept. But, you with us, Jonathan?
Yeah, yeah. I'm back.
Okay, cool. This is a clip of Jacob Humphrey. Our nose, he's lined up a little further outside than usual, but just really patient here. Take on a little bit of a down block. Read, 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 shed, tackle. Read, arms extended. Oh, I love this so much. I love line play so much. Look, arms extended, really good. Sheds it. There's nothing the back can do there. It's really hard to deal with as an offensive lineman too. Really like that. Really good play. Next line comes in and cleans it up. So this one was one that I noted where if Puff was just a little more patient, this would have been 6. We're gonna kind of look up here. So I'm gonna pause it here in just a second. Beautiful. This looks great. He's got all the time in the world. He's streaking here, and looks like the safety maybe we're in man. It looks like, yeah, I think we're in man. So we get press up here, and he's got all the time in the world, perfect pocket, but he wins the press. It's hard. You'll see it in the next clip. But Jag goes here, and you guys are going to be sick when you see this. Look, that's 6.
Mm.
Just a little more patient with that time that the line got him, and that's 6 points. And this is a totally different football game.
Yeah, I think that's just trying to give a bigger body a chance right there, because that's one of the tight ends Dominic done right there. And so I think, one of the things offensively is we did struggle as far as passing and catching the ball. And so I think that at this point in the game, that's one of those, it's like, hey, I got a bigger athletic guy. I think Dom is probably listed at 6'3", like 230. So again, bigger tight end that can move and has pretty good hands to catch. So I think at that point, it's, hey, let me just try to give my guy a shot. And
Yeah.
so I mean, obviously at this point in the game, it's, you maybe would like to see it happen earlier in the game. Just like, throw it up. Let's see you guys get a shot, or if anything, try to come up with a pass interference or something there. But with his fade like this, he's kind of fading now. It just gives the DB favorable position.
Yep.
A little bit overthrown right there. So I mean, and then you also have help coming in too. So it's kind of, if he did go towards the receiver at the top, then obviously it's a little bit different because we're looking at potentially a touchdown there. But right here, it's just I think that's just trying to give your guy a chance right there.
And I want to be super clear. This is a really tough read because from his vision and his perspective, this is hard to see. I want to be super clear about that. The only thing I'm pointing out is this is some of the most beautiful protection of the day. And where he has to put this ball to hit the tight end here is a really small window, and the throw's actually pretty good to make sure this ball can't be picked off. But if he's just a little more patient, that's 6. And this is a totally different ball game with 8:54 in the fourth. And these are just kind of the little things I saw where it's just like, man, this could have been a 31-34 thriller like that. Just with the tiniest little things. This is just a blown coverage to Heston Kelly. It looks like there was Daunte, you'll have to tell me. It looks like as he goes across the middle, they tried to switch, but then there wasn't a switch. But then there's like a hesitation. So right here, he stops, and so did you see that?
Yes.
Do you guys switch like that on crossers? Do you know? Do you remember?
I think it depends on the week to week kind of thing. If
Okay.
teams are keen to running a lot of mesh, then yes, I think that is one adjustment that UCO will make. The tough part about this is because usually with mesh, teams like to do it with a tight end and one of their smaller receivers. That way, like someone gets ran into, like you have a bigger body, kind of forcing that collision type of thing. But you have it coming with two receivers. So it's like you having to try to communicate across field in the midst of it versus if it's a little bit more condensed and the action's happening more kind of closer together. But with it coming from corner and receiver out like that, that's where your communication will kind of help with that because obviously he doesn't hear it until they realize like, oh, we're passing it off. But if it's something where either just play recognition or just loud communication, you could see that they were attempting to pass it off, and if they are able to pass it off successfully, then I mean you're in really good position because now again, if that mesh is gone, then obviously the other one's going to be covered up because they passed it up.
Yep.
I usually have like a route sitting over the ball or whatever, and then you have to try to improvise. But yeah, that's just one of those where I think that they were trying to pass, or they have the ability to pass it off, and that's what they tried to do. They were just a little bit late on the actual attempt of it.
I chalk this all up to week one woes that play, because I had the same thought if this was a pass off and it just didn't get over there. That's not something that I think you guys will have a problem with later in the season. So I just kind of chalk that up as to um, a communication issue that'll get sorted out over time. Kind of have a drop here, or we have a drop here from Cottrell. There's not a lot to say about this. I've just kind of documented this last drive. It's 4:53. This is the last drive of clips I have because the ones at the end really aren't relevant. We're playing so soft, and then we're trying to run clock and all that. So we have a drop here. If you remember the drop off of the deflection, it was really lucky that we picked off right at the early of the game. That was him too. So he kind of had a tough game. He usually is pretty good catching the football from what I saw last year on some of the clips. Is that accurate?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we
Gotcha.
sometimes we like split him out wide, but that wheel route, we he scored several times off that the past couple of years. Really reliable swing passes. I think this is probably the worst I've seen honestly from him in terms of the pass game, in his 3 years. So I'm thinking we don't have that next week. I don't like. I think a lot of this we don't have next week. Like you mentioned, communication, right? That gets fixed with time. I think even some of the missed tackles we saw, I think that just gets fixed with time. And that's why, like I'm saying, I wasn't too concerned after the game because a lot of it to me is fixable. And I think a lot of the things for UTPB is also fixable. So like that's why I wasn't really concerned as the score would, dictate.
Completely agree. That's why I'm picking you guys over Pitt State. All right. The switch concepts, because I asked you about this before, Dante, if you guys run this a lot. We run another switch concept up top, but it works because we're impressed this time. So action's up here to the top.
Mm-hmm.
This is really, really well executed by UCO. Perfect.
So yes, when it's 2 by 2 like that, they have shown more recent years to work this type of concept where it's basically two verticals, but you have one kind of it's not exactly a post because it's not an exact plant and break in. And he's just kind of working more slightly towards that middle, but it's basically still two verticals. But yes, I believe that's with the tight end. That is one of the benefits of having tight ends who are athletic and can help you on the pass game is if you do run some of those rubs, those crosses, like they can get in the way of those DBs, and it kind of opens someone else up. And so you see right here, like that is a route that they hit a lot of the time last year. And so I thought I was going to see it a little bit more in this game, but again, obviously that's going to being backed up, how the game plays out, that's going to dictate, the type of plays you run. So, I mean, I think that this might be a play that, they come back to and run more often as the season progresses.
Yeah, really well executed. Really like that. I mean, I didn't like it because I'm a UTPB fan, but as a football fan, I really liked it. What was this one? 1 second. Yes, this is kind of what I'm talking about, the 3-step drop, and then just we're just kind of throwing it. And I'm fully aware it's 427 in the fourth. But there's a missed touchdown right here, and it's right here. And he's looking in that general direction too. And just doesn't see him. But that's 6 points right there.
Yeah, that'll be one in film he looks at and
Yeah.
stuff for that one. But again, I think when you build up, the trust and the timing with things as far as quarterbacks and receivers and things like that, I wouldn't be surprised if, hey, even if it was, the number one read right there, that might be something that's like, hey, I got a guy right there. I know I might just give him a chance right there.
So remember earlier in the game when Huff hits the crosser because he's patient and it opens up for him and you guys get like 20 yards on it.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't wait, throws it into either 3 or quarters there. Almost picked off.
Well, I'm curious because you have the number one receiver. It looks like he just runs.
Oh, sorry. Let me go back.
Oh, no, you're fine. Yeah, like right there. It seems like the number one receiver down at the bottom just runs a hitch. So what we seen earlier in the game, like that entire side was completely cleared out. So I don't know if maybe they have a tag, depending on the type of coverage they get to like break it off. But I do. It is kind of more cloudier because if you played a little bit more the crosser, there's someone kind of in that area. Whereas earlier in the game, like that was just completely wide open. So I'm not too sure what type of route concept this one was, but I think this one is slightly different than the one that was ran earlier in the game.
It's a little different because X line was covering the back out of the flat, and that is part of what opened all of that up. But he's still going to pass through X line here. X line wasn't even paying attention. X line's like a spy essentially. X line on these shells I noticed was kind of in like a type of man with whoever your running back is and waiting for those routes out in the flat. But then almost like he would, once he realized there was a block, it's like he was switching to the quarterback. I'm like you, I'm not in the meetings either, but it seems like he was kind of switching.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't even react to this crosser. Like he's actively leaving the crosser. So it's kind of interesting all the way around on both for both teams. This is the intentional grounding. I just threw this in here to kind of make for the continuity of the drive here. Unfortunately, the camera angle doesn't really tell us kind of what was going on downfield. I'm just going to go on through this. I think some of this was just a little bit of frustration as well and just trying to make something happen. 89 to the bottom here. He's got something, but then we forced it into quarters. I think he's just trying to make something happen, 31-14. Mm-hmm. And then this is something I'm really glad you're on for. running three verts to the same side into the same area. I've never seen this before. It's very interesting. It's just verts. Well, there's a switch there, but
Yes.
tell me about that.
So, the whole point of running the switch with the verts is because people tend to key in on specific players, especially when you start running verts and things like that. So that's just a way to potentially free somebody up and get them into a new, different spot just because of the type of attention that they draw or the type of coverage that they run. Because people can run cover two or cover three many different ways. And so obviously when you're sitting in zone, there's going to be soft spots in that. So that's one of those things that when you do start to run those switches, one, it kind of lets you to know the type of coverage that the defense is running and how they're going to react to it. But then also it can kind of free up people to either your key play that you're trying to get the ball, or even at times you see because that player draws so much attention, now you have someone running scot-free open because everyone's kind of so keyed in on that one person. And that is something that in the past couple of years, UCO has been able to take advantage of on people because just the attention that the receivers have drawn in the past, and then also the types of routes that they have run, where they can hit like kind of those double moves or fake like a bubble screen, like block, and then kind of release kind of thing. So, I mean, the only critique I'd have here is when they do run the switch, you don't want to have one guy on the hash and one guy splitting the numbers in the hash just for spacing purposes. I think the guy splitting the numbers in the hash is probably more correct than the guy who's on the hash. But the guy who's on the hash, if he is continuing to kind of still bend after that, because that can be one thing too, is like, yeah, they kind of start like that. But then if he bends kind of sharp after he passes that backer, then that could be something that they hit as well too. But obviously you see that there's someone sitting there. So, I mean, it's a little bit of a spacing issue right there. But as far as that switch concept, yes, that is something that UCL will do.
So I was more about the spacing because when I've seen this run, we run a variation of this. It's quite different, but it's very similar with a switch. But when we run it, as we get up the field, he is going to be more right here, and we're attacking him, or we're attacking the space in between. Um, I didn't know if there was like some reason, hey, we're just going to run three verts to see if we can get this guy down here isolated, and we're just going to try and, throw a jump ball and try and draw all the defenders over. I didn't know if there was something like that going on or if it was spacing, but it sounds like it's just kind of a spacing thing. So,
And it makes it tough whenever, defensive wise, you're able to drop 8. I mean, you got to
oh yeah, yeah,
something pretty special to be 8 deep. You know what I mean? And so I think that kind of like help dictate things. But it's like if early in the game, or maybe not this situation, if they're not dropping 8 as deep as they are, that is something that kind of can be open. But even with the spacing issues, because then it's the type of coverage, there might not be one extra person there. But just from the spacing for this play, it wasn't all that good.
gotcha. Okay, I was just trying to learn something there. I didn't know if you were trying to set up an ISO to the bottom down there. It's very interesting. Okay. Well, that's the end of my clips, guys. This ended up being kind of the turnover, and then we ended up kicking a field goal at the end, but we ran the clock and just kind of messed around a little bit. So that's what I've got for you guys. I learned a lot. Excuse me. Um, this was this was a really good game. I thought it could have been a lot closer, or even us losing, or it could have been a lot worse. I think you guys match up really well with Pitt State just because of your offensive line. I know that you guys did have some trouble kind of moving us at different times, but what I saw from the Pitt State defensive front versus Ferris, and again, I know it's Ferris, but from what I saw with the Pitt State defensive front, they don't look like they have. They don't look like they have previously looked in the past, and it was a little shocking if you guys haven't watched that game. So, um, that's kind of my general thoughts. And you guys have so much that it's just tiny little things, and it's kind of a lot of this is week one stuff, and I think you guys have a lot to really be excited about. I think you're going to be right there at the end for a playoff push, and hopefully we're there too. And who knows? Maybe we'll get a playoff rematch. We're in the same super region.
right?
Yeah, I do like that. I was like, what are your thoughts on that? Because that was a big contention point, I think, for a lot of people. The regionality and how that was not the best, and I know that they redid it this year. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts on the newness?
Um, well, the first thing is um, I try not to put too much stock in all that. We at the end of the day, it's about going out and snapping the football and executing, and the super region and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter, but it sure does seem like we're in the by far the toughest super region of any super region there by a pretty wide margin. Um, and I just my personal opinion, I know that a lot of it is due to budget concerns with Division II schools. I personally absolutely loathe it. I think mm, I'm glad that we have a playoff because for so many years in Division I, we didn't have playoffs. So having a playoff is better than not having one. But this particular format, I think, is absolutely terrible. And I wish it was more, I wish there was some way we could make it to where it's more open and we can make it so that all of the best teams are seeded properly because it's not possible to seed them properly in this. And I think that's kind of its own little miscarriage. I mean, I'm being dramatic here, but it's kind of its own miscarriage of justice to, you know, like if we're like ranked third and Harding is in our super region and then you guys really turn it on and then like we haven't even started talking about like Angelo State, who their offense is going to be a lot better this year, and they always their defense always nails, and so like you're just I don't know. I wish it was open more, and I wish there was a way that we could figure out how to do that.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
it's pretty tough. Which again, I get money and budget is kind of the issue as far as for every other division but D1 because I mean the smaller D1s they have more of a playoff bracket as well too than just how D1 does their power rankings and things. Um, it's because money is such a big factor in it. You can't really just say, "Hey, let's go out off of power rankings," sort of thing. Because with Division II, there's not a whole lot of crossover and overlap with things. And so it's like, yeah, you look at Division I and stuff. It's like, okay, you have your Big Ten and SEC. They're kind of the two like most dominant conferences. With D2, it's very hard to do that because you can have one conference where 1 through 8 are pretty tough, but if you're picking up losses along the way, that doesn't look favorable on your schedule versus someone who is not in as tough of a conference, but they go undefeated or they lose one game. And so then it's like, are you trying to go based off of what you think as far as like the tougher conferences, or are you going based off of what actually happened when the ball was snapped and the results of the games? So I can kind of I will give a little bit of grace because it is very tough to do versus just doing a straight power ranking and then here are the teams that make it. If you don't make that cut, then kind of oh well, sorry. But yeah, it is just very tough because I mean the region we had before when you had UCO, Harding, Fair State, Grand Valley State, Pitt State. I mean, that's already 5, 6 teams right there that if you drop in any other region, they have a high chance of winning that entire region and making it, to, I mean, potentially like an Elite 8 situation kind of thing. But that's kind of the situation we have right now as far as like with Division II football.
And I just want to say, I think there's a solution to this, but I don't know if leadership, like if the leadership within Division II would do it. And I think the solution is, if I remember correctly, I think it's been the past 2 or 3 years, almost all the early round games are behind a paywall that's on like the NCAA's website. Am I remembering this right? Not the
I
late round games, but the early ones.
I know the the first round game this past year for UCO at least, it was on ESPN Plus, which is behind the paywall because you have to pay for ESPN Plus.
Okay, maybe it was the previous year that I'm thinking of in 23. Maybe it wasn't last year, maybe it was 23, but in 23, like the only way you could watch what the overwhelming majority of the games was you had to go through the NCAA's website and there was like a paywall. And it just basically locked the playoffs out for so many people. And what I would suggest, and I think Jonathan, I think you're right. I think they were all on ESPN Plus last year. But what I would say is if leadership within Division Two would go to ESPN, why couldn't you have a Division Two college football game day and you schedule your first round days not on a Saturday, not to conflict with Division One, but you find a niche and you find a date and you find a time and get it on the networks, get it on the main ESPN networks, and actually try and build it into something. I think it would end up becoming revenue generating, and I think that it could be self-funding at a certain point. But it's kind of one of these chicken and egg scenarios. You have to actually market things so people know about them. You have to build the storyline so people care about them, and then you have to present a good product on top of it. And then once you start doing that, you're going to start getting popularity. And some of these things where we're not just stuck where the three best teams are in the same super regional. We might be able to get to somewhere where it doesn't work, and maybe that's just naive of me. But I think that I think there's a way out of it. I don't know for sure, but I sure would like them to try. And we have all these places like D1 rejects that are popping up now, and like we have the D2 football show, and there's all these places like you, Jonathan. Like there's all these things that are the infrastructure is getting there. So we kind of need some leadership to just start marketing it. And that's been my biggest. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. That's been my biggest issue with a lot of this. Is it just doesn't feel like there's any marketing for the NCAA for Division Two.
There's not. There's not. And I feel like it's because they just don't think it's profitable, right? At the end of the day, NCAA is still a business. They're still going to only want to invest in what's going to generate them revenue. And so from that perspective, I do get it, but I feel like that's where, like you mentioned, D2 rejects, the people over, what is it, D2 football, right? Myself, there's Oklahoma Sports Network, right? There's so many other independent that are kind of doing that work and filling that, space. And I kind of wish there was like, I don't know, there was some kind of way for all of us to like connect in one place and one time and maybe I don't know, like hash out a way to work together on this, right? Kind of how like you reached out to me. You're like, hey, I do some stuff, kind of cover UTPB. I have some clips. I would love to come on and talk about the game with you, right? I feel like the more we do that, and the more traction that gains, maybe that signals more interest. But I just feel like we're fighting an uphill battle if at the end of the day, the NCAA is only looking at revenue and numbers. And obviously, we're not going to be on that level. But I also feel like there's some very unique things about our level that you're not going to get at the Division 1 level. And I think the problem is they're just not going to either A, care enough to market it, or B, know how to market it, right? Because I feel like you have to market a game different in, say, Odessa, Texas, than you would in Austin, Texas. You have to market the game different in, St. Joseph's, Missouri, than you would in Columbia. And I just don't know if they have the knowledge or the care in order to do that. But I'm hoping one day that we do see that, but I think until then, you'll see D2 rejects, D2 football, you, myself, Sports Network, all the other ones, just continuing to do what we can because at the end of the day, it's good football, and I just feel like the common person will see the two after the D and think it's not good, and that's not the case. And it might be one of the good things about the portal. You're seeing D2 guys every year transfer up on a bigger stage. Like Terrell Davis, for example. I think a lot of people in Oklahoma vaguely knew of Terrell just because of last season, and we got like 2 seconds on local news, right? But it's different when you're on ESPN Plus and they're spotlighting you and they're showing a whole profile, and now he gets to show that no, Terrell Davis is a really good receiver. Well, he
Yeah,
came from a Division II level, right? And so that's one of the things the portal has kind of maybe deflected some eyes down towards us, even if it's just like, oh, maybe we can get this guy in the portal next year. But I think maybe there's more eyes on our level. I just would like it to be more genuine eyes, like this is good football. And if you're a fan of good football, I feel like it doesn't matter the level. I don't care if we're talking Pee Wee or we're talking NFL. Good football is good football. And so I think if they market that, I think there's an avenue. I just don't think that they want that they won't, because I feel like they just care about the casual viewer, because they figure the hardcore viewer will watch what they want to watch. But no, I agree that the guys at this level deserve a lot more than what they're getting. But I think at least with the independents, they're getting at least something, and I think that's at least what I tried to do, is be like, well, yeah, Channel 9 should be there, Channel 4 should be there, Oklahoma should be there, but they're not. But somebody is there, because I know that's not always the case with other programs. So, um, but yeah, no. So like I know the work we do is important, and so that I think it's not lost on anybody that does this, right. Like, they're not doing it for anything other than like because it's needed, it's valuable, and you enjoy it. So like I was people like I love covering the D2 level. I get asked all the time, well, why don't you cover D1 or OU or OSU? Nah, I'm good. Like I like the level of football. I like the people at this level is good people. Um, I haven't come across many egos, to be honest. Like, I've been in a lot of press boxes with a lot of other media members, and it's not that way. Everybody's helpful, everybody's friendly. There's great stories. Like I truly love the Division II level. Now, obviously, one day if UCL moves up to the FCS level, well, yeah, I'm gonna still cover them, right? And maybe the FCS level is good too. But I'm happy in this space, and so I know it seems like a losing battle, but I don't know. I think there's a way out of it. I don't know.
I'll just say one thing and I'll let Dante talk. But it has to be grassroots for each individual university to build it in their own communities, and that's the first step, or one of the first steps. But I'm not talking about ad buys or anything like that. I'm talking about something as simple as a D2 college game day, the first, second, and third weeks, put on by ESPN. It wouldn't be that expensive. They're already carrying the games, so it's a self market of the games. I feel like if they would just get a little bit of a nudge from NCAA, like Kobe Manzo's already doing this on his own with Division I rejects. I think he's already done this like 3 or 4 times now. Maybe he's done it more. I don't know. But like if he can do it on his own, the NCAA and ESPN between the two of them could easily do this. Find a way to market it. Just doing that show and putting it on television once you have grassroots, I think would do wonders for the sport. But anyway, Dante, I'll let you.
No, I mean, you guys are speaking a whole lot of truth right now. And as someone who played through this recently, I mean, you guys are speaking for a lot of players who aren't at the D1 level. And that's something I always said whenever I played is just because we're D2 does not mean it's not D1 talent. And something that I still hold true, and people look at me sideways. But the biggest things between specifically D1 and D2 is the very big thing, money. That is the biggest difference between the divisions. The second is the size of O line and D line. You can't teach someone being 6'6", running a 4.5, weighing 290. Like, that's a freak of nature. You can't teach that. And then the third thing is quarterback play. Outside of those factors, it's, in my opinion, there's not really that much of a difference. There was this graph that was released last year, but it was the top D2 teams have more attendance regularly than the bottom 20 or even 30 FCS teams. So it's like there's already people there for obviously those top echelons of programs, and depend on where they're at, that can definitely help to draw eyes. Um, Depend on if you're based in a city like how UCO is, you're in a suburb. People just have other attractions. You have two big major historic Division ones that are less than an hour away from you. So it's like that's always going to be a battle that UCO has to fight as far as like trying to get eyes and attention. But you've seen last, or you may have seen it, but last year that was the most people I've ever seen at UCO games, like ever, and it was fun and it was electric. Um, so I think that there is a market to market and showcase Division two. I do agree it does need to start more so with the universities and the towns and cities that they're based in, because D1, I mean, it's really about exposure and just getting the right opportunity. And so a lot of people don't get get that stuff, but that doesn't mean that they're not great players. I remember when I was at UCO, there was one entire recruiting class that we had that was strictly Oklahoma kids. And being someone who wasn't recruited or whatever, it's like, and you can go look at their rosters. OU and OSU do not recruit Oklahoma at all. Like you might have maybe five between the two of them, and Oklahoma is a football state. If you go look at Tulsa, the years where they were pretty successful, they recruited Tulsa area heavy. They don't do that as much anymore. So it's like you have, I think there's what 9 or 10 Division twos in Oklahoma. So it's like if Oklahoma are going to those D1s, where do you think they're going? Few make it out of state, but most are going to these D2s. So it's like Friday Night Lights or all the great basketball, softball, wrestling. Like we have a ton of sports that are pretty damn good in the state. They're all going to these D2s, but then it's basically like people go off to college in D2s, and it's like no one hears about them, no one sees anything. One teammate that I had from high school and in college was all state in football. I think he placed third state champion for wrestling. Gets to UCO, was all conference, was all region, and it's like you don't hear anything about that. But it's like that is someone that should be, held in high regard, especially from the town that I'm from. Someone who was productive for the city while they were there, but then moved on and had success. And it's like you just don't really see that. So, I mean, I agree with you guys a whole lot. I think it's basically the independent route is kind of the way to go. And I think, unfortunately, the NCAA is just so okay with sitting on their billions that they get from the big D1s, because I think it's like Texas brings in hundreds of millions just from the football program alone. So it's like if you times that by the Alabamas, the Oklahomas, I mean, it's just rampant. They don't even feel a need to try to showcase people all like outside of that. And so I think for now, you two especially, just keep fighting the good fight, keep doing what you guys are doing. And I'm telling you, if you guys don't hear enough, or if people maybe don't speak on it, it is extremely, extremely appreciated by all these athletes to just know people care, and just know that, hey, regardless of win, lose, draw, no matter how terrible the season's going or turmoil, whatever, that there are people who still care about people and their performance, and also them as individuals. And that's why I was able to come on here, is because of the relationship that me and JG was able to form my later years of playing. And then now I've been done playing, was it 3, 4 years now?
2022 was your last year.
But here I am, talking football with him from the team I just got done playing with.
Yeah, no, I think, and I think it's reciprocated too, right? I think I always say guys know like who really wants to be there covering and who just got it as an assignment. And I saw that and I felt that last year as UCO picked up steam. Oklahoma sent somebody, I think was it the Emporia game, Channel 9, Channel like 4, and everybody was there. And I felt like looking back on it now, like in the moment I didn't realize it, but looking back on it now, I felt like there was a concerted effort by the men in that locker room. I'm waiting to go. So the way UCO has it, our little auditorium film room is in the performance center. And so I was waiting to go into the performance center, and the entrance to that is like right by the locker room. So like here's the performance center entrance, and then here's the locker room. And guys were coming out the locker room. I'm telling you, every single one of them made it a point to come up there and dap me up before they did anything else. And I remember the news people just looking there stunned. I remember after Emporia, like I'm just going around and just talking to people, and they're just standing there all like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Yeah, you know what I mean. And then when Coach Doral came and found me to do posts, right? So like I think guys know, and that's the thing. Like guys know who cares, guys know who's there, when it's bad, when it's good, when, it's cold, it's rainy, there's a big game on, it's fall break, whatever have you, and you're there. I think guys know and guys appreciate that. And so I think as long as that's not lost, and I think at least for me, that kind of adds more motivation and feel like, all right, what I'm doing does indeed matter, and it most importantly it matters to the guys on the field. And so I think as long as that's the case, then I think I'm gonna keep doing it. And then obviously what you do for UTPB, right? Like that's also important. What D2 Rejects does is also important. So I think everybody understands the importance of it, and I think that's why we do it. Because I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things we could do with our spare time. I mean, it is time consuming. It is a lot of work. But I feel like it's work that's needed and it's work that's appreciated. So I'm willing to have what 11 long Saturdays a year. I mean, you hope for more. Obviously, you want to make that run, but you know like to me that's fine. I mean, listen, if I got to put in 12 hour Saturdays, then it is what it is because I know, right, guys like Daunte, years down the road that's still appreciated. To me, it makes it all worth it. And so I don't know if the NCAA will ever come around to that, but if they don't, I mean, I like where we are. Like you said, the D2 content space is just growing and growing and growing. I've even seen that with UCO. There's a lot more content creators on the sidelines now, where it used to only be me. Now I see several others. I think they're seeing it's a viable avenue. Like even if you don't want to stay in that space forever, it's a valuable avenue to learn and get stuff on film, right? And figure things out. And so I'm glad that people are seeing that because I feel like when I started this, there wasn't a lot, and now you're seeing, more and more and more and more and more. Um, so yeah, no, I'll keep doing what I'm doing. Josh, where can people find your work, support you, anything of that nature? You want to plug yourself?
I want to give one little funny anecdote just to back that up, and then we'll close it out. Um, we've had reporters from the local area who were caught by players saying that UTPB deserved to lose because they didn't like their celebrations while they're on the sidelines, and they weren't even bad. And we've run the full gamut. But I can tell you one thing: when I started doing content stuff for UTPB in 2023, I started doing clips, and I did a lot of really funny videos. Even I think even a non-UTPB fan would find funny. But I started doing clips, and I got a phone call from someone who was on the UTPB bus who had got my number, and they knew who I was, but almost none of the team knew who I was. And one of the people on the bus at 2 in the morning and wherever they were goes, "Who the hell is Josh Wahls and why is he our biggest fan?" And it was one of those things where it was kind of like, you know, to what both of you guys were saying, it's like, to me, it was just like, oh, I'm just like doing clips, but to them, it meant a lot. And so it's just one of those things to piggyback off what you were saying, Jonathan. Like, um, it's if you enjoy doing it, just do it for you. I mean, Jonathan, you don't have to do it for you. You don't have to do it for UCO. Do it for you. And I enjoy both, but just what we do matters, and it makes a difference in programs and stuff. So I'm happy to do it. As far as where you can find me, I'm just Josh Wahls on Twitter. I'm Josh Wall, and that's JoshWahls on Twitter. I'm also Josh Wahls on Instagram. Um, that's kind of where I hang out. All my clips are on Twitter though, or X, or whatever they want to call it now.
Yeah, I say Twitter/X because I still call it Twitter. I'm not calling it X. I'm sorry. Listen, you can change the app color, make it a black square with the X in it. I'm still calling it Twitter, but okay, well,
I'm too
very good.
old. I'm I'm in my mid 30s. I can't change. You
Exactly.
young guys like Dante can still do it. I'm just I'm set in my ways at this point. I used it for 10 years. You want me to just change it? Come on,
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
You know,
No.
but it's Twitter. Like X, no, everyone I know they say Twitter, and honestly, Twitter is still my favorite app, and Twitter is golden. Like, give me Twitter over TikTok, Instagram, everything. Twitter and YouTube. Those are the only social medias I really need.
True, true.
Well, I appreciate you guys. If you guys get a, Lone Star matchup for playoffs, maybe we work something out and come back on. I'm a lot more familiar with those teams and their schemes and stuff, so we might be able to do something kind of similar and maybe do like a preview for you guys if I've got time. Sometimes my time's kind of all over the place, but I was
Mhm.
wide open today. So, thanks. I appreciate you having me. Had a great time. Learned a ton of football. I appreciate you, John. And yeah, man. Until next time.
Oh, well, I said I appreciate you reaching out and offering to come on. I think it was very, very insightful. I think people will learn a whole lot, not just about the game Saturday, but about the Lone Star Conference as a whole. So, like I said, I mean, any time I can be of service, anytime you want to come back on, or you just want to just talk ball in general, just let me know and we can set something up. But I'm wishing you all the best of luck. I hope you have a prosperous season. Your quarterback can make it through the finish line. Like I truly do. I truly do. Because having seen one myself, I know you're like, he's not gonna last. So I
Hey,
truly hope he
here's
does.
the here's the context of that you don't know. UTPB lost their clear number one quarterback early in the year last year to a
Mm.
broken leg. So every time you say that, that's in the back of my head. And every time he went down and got hit and threw up, I'm just sitting there just clenched the entire time. So that's yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. No, I'm wishing you all the best. I hope you can bring it home in the Lone Star. Give UCO a quality loss. I think those are a thing. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. I also appreciate Dante coming on as well. So again, I thank Josh. I hope you all support him. I'll put all his info below in the description. But yeah, and until next time, Dante and I will talk to you all next week.